Chapter 43:01. According to her past experiences, Yiqing Luo expressed that she should directly kill this weirdo. She could save a lot of trouble. No matter how small the mosquito was, it was rather annoying to keep buzzing around. Gu Yi's pleading words were stuck in his throat. Looking at the young lady's languid expression, his lips moved, but one more word and you will die together with her. Yiqing Luo impatiently interrupted him once again. Gu Yi pursed his lips as his brows creased into a bundle. Finally, he kept his mouth shut, not because he was afraid of death, but he knew clearly that Yiqing Luo would not change her decision easily. According to what Gu Yun said, it wasn't scary to be dismembered by 5 horses. What was scary was to be stripped of the secret guard's name and to be labeled as a traitor. What the secret guard were most afraid of was to be labeled as a traitor. Gusen had obviously thought of this as well. Seeing that Gu Yi really had no intention to speak, her twisted face turned pale like paper. You can't do this. You have no right to do this. Gu Yun directly went forward and locked Gu San's arm with one hand, and with a backhand, she pressed it behind her back. Gu Yi's body moved as he looked at Gu San, wanting to say something, but his lips squirmed for some time. He still moved away without saying a word. This servant shall take her leave. Gu Yun locked Gu San, bowed towards Yiqing Luo, and left. Yiqing Luo lazily brushed her hair and sat back on her seat as she gave an insincere smile. I'm so sorry to have let everyone see such a joke. Everyone's faces darkened. It wasn't like earlier when they helped to make Yiqing Luo teach the 2 secret guards a lesson. That time when they helped, it was merely to create trouble on purpose. They were certain that Yiqing Luo was a young lady and had just arrived at the Gu residence, so she definitely wouldn't dare to create any huge commotion. It could be seen from the secret guard's attitude towards her. In this Gu residence, there were quite a number of people who weren't convinced by Yiqing Luo's appearance, but they had not expected. Yiqing Luo actually directly made Miss Yun take action. Without any hesitation, she took action, as though killing a secret guard, to her, was merely killing an ant. One had to know that from the conversation between Gu Yun and the 2 shadow guards, one could tell that. The male secret guard was once the captain of the secret guards, but Yiqing Luo had forcefully seized his authority. A female dark guard who could follow the dark guard captain naturally had a high level. However, the first miss of the Gu residence had been killed just like that. Could it be that she was not afraid that her actions would be too arrogant and cause the entire Gu residence to be dissatisfied? Everyone carefully sized up Yiqing Luo's expression. The girl was still as calm and composed as ever. Everyone's hearts were inexplicably on edge. Just now, the young girl's actions. Could it be that she was purposely killing the chicken to warn the monkey to take them down a notch? It was an invisible message to them. She, the first miss of the Gu residence, was fearless? Why are all of you staring at me for? Yiqing Luo sensed their gazes and raised her brows slightly as she looked over. The few of them retracted their gazes in a panic. Their bodies were tense as they sat up straight. Yiqing Luo, was she that terrifying? Why did he look at her as if he was looking at a monster? She was a weak wastrel without the strength to even trust a chicken. If Yiqing Luo knew what those people were thinking in their hearts, she would definitely have a look of disdain and ridicule, expressing that they were thinking too much. She had called Gu 1 and Gu 3 out at this moment, was merely to let these people bear witness. After all, this place wasn't her turf. To kill the Gu residence's secret guards. Chapter 43:02. Gu San dared to frown at her, his current master, in front of outsiders. This was enough for her to have an excuse to kill Gu San. Even when others mentioned this matter, they would only say that she was helping the Gu residents to clean up the house. After all, as a secret guard, going against one superior was a capital offense. By then, even if the barbaric Bloodbone King asked, she would have an explanation. Surely she couldn't just kill someone else's man for no reason. On the other side, the crowd who had retracted their gazes after they had done their subconscious actions regained their senses, and couldn't help but gave themselves a tight slap. How could they possibly be afraid of a young lass? How could they possibly meet a young lass's gaze and be scared to this state? Rin family's old man's face sunk as the hand which was hanging on the wooden chair clenched into a fist shape. Since eldest young Mrs. Private Matter has been settled now, isn't it our turn to settle our accounts? Yiqing Luo found a comfortable position to lean against, as one hand propped up her chin as she squinted at Rin family's old man with a smile which didn't look like a smile. Accounts? I have no accounts to settle with your Rin family. Not waiting for those people to open their mouths, Yiqing Luo had already lazily raised her hand. Her jade-like finger slowly raised up one finger. Number 1, second young Master Rin took the initiative to receive my poison. He is a cultivator, and I am just an ordinary person. My speed of withdrawing the poison is not as fast as his, so him being poisoned is his own fault? What has it got to do with me? Following that, her gaze directly swept past the stiff Rin family's old man as she looked towards the other middle-aged men. The second finger was raised. Number 2, the battle pet battle was suggested by Princess. The one who smashed your young master to death is also Princess's battle pet. What has it got to do with me? And what has it got to do with my little battle pet? Haven't you seen your young master's corpse? Do you think with my little battle pet size, it can smash your young master into minced meat? The middle-aged men were choked till they couldn't say a single word. Yiqing Luo rolled her eyes with a look of disdain. A bunch of retards trying to find someone to take the blame. Don't use your brains. The middle-aged men, this young lady's mouth, really couldn't say anything good. Someone wanted to open his mouth to refute Yiqing Luo. But the minute he recalled Yiqing Luo's indifferent expression earlier, directly asking Miss Yin to drag that secret guard down and execute the punishment of dismemberment, the words that were about to come out from his mouth were swallowed back unfathomably. The atmosphere in the hall immediately fell into a strange silence. A few breaths later, Gong Xiaozhu suddenly raised his head with a livid and hideous expression. His eyes were filled with intense disgust and hatred. Every single word of Eldest Miss is trying to clear her name of responsibility. But, Eldest Miss, have you forgotten that there were at least 100 onlookers that day? If there were only 1 or 2 people who believed that this matter had nothing to do with you, we wouldn't have come to you today. But if over 100 spectators all think that you should take responsibility for what happened that day, then this proves that whether it is the Rin family or the Zhao and Li families, you have an undeniable responsibility. Gong Xiaozhu said and stood up excitedly. It's a fact that Brother Ming was poisoned, and it's also a fact that he almost fainted from the poison. Xiong Batian smashed the Zhao and Li family's young master because your battle pet used its beast power to flip Xiong Batian, causing Xiong Batian to lose his balance. Chapter 4303. Gong Xiaozhu's voice turned crazier and crazier as her eyes shone with a maniacal glint. Return my Xiong Batian to me. If Xiong Batian disappears, then use your war pet to pay for it. Yiqing Luo, talking about Xiong Batian at such length, in actual fact. The last sentence was the main point, right? Was she still dreaming of her Qi Yin? Did Gong Xiaozhu think that her Qi Yin was so easy to contract? All right, it seemed that it was rather easy for her to contract Qi Yin. After all, Xiao Qi was there to help. But even if she contracted Qi Yin, there weren't many people who could get along with Qi Yin. Sigh, mentioning Xiao Qi, she missed everyone in the pet space. Alas, she who had no profound energy was unable to form a mental link with the pet space. Luckily, there was a little Qi Yin to accompany her. It allowed her to have a familiar companion by her side in this inexplicable heaven realm. Yiqing Luo played with Qi Yan's wings as her brows slowly rose. Her gaze was calm as she swept a glance at Gong Xiaozhu. Gong Xiaozhu's expression was calm and tranquil. His gaze moved very quickly, without much emotion, as though she didn't put Gong Xiaozhu in her eyes at all. The truth was indeed so. After the young lady shifted her gaze, her voice was very languid, Since that's the case, then we can't come to an agreement. Gong Xiaoju's back, for some reason, seemed to be covered with a layer of frost the moment the young lady's gaze swept past. That cold tone of voice also exuded a terrifying chill. Gong Xiaoju's heart suddenly tightened. Immediately after, she heard the young lady continued, "If we can't come to an agreement, then please leave. Whatever you want to do, just bring it on." These words were obviously considered as provocation and clamoring. But when the young lady said these words expressionlessly, the few of them felt an indescribable chill in their chest. Gong Xiaoju's body stiffened as her limbs turned icy cold. But she forced herself to look at Yiqing Luo as her voice trembled slightly. "Eldest young, Mrs. Meaning is, you want to represent the Gu residents to go against the Zhao, Enli family, Ren family, and the royal family?" As she said that, her gaze shot towards the expressionless Gu Yi who was standing by Yiqing Luo's side. Apparently she knew that Gu Yi wasn't convinced by Yiqing Luo wholeheartedly, so she intentionally used the bone manner to provoke Gu Yi. However, Gu Yi was still expressionless, and he did not even raise his eyes. Yiqing Luo naturally understood Gong Xiaoju's motive. She sneered, and her lazy eyes finally fell on Gong Xiaoju. She smiled and said in a clear voice, "Aren't you tired of passing messages like this? Wouldn't it be more convenient to let the person behind you come out and talk to me face to face?" There was a hint of ridicule in her tone. Gong Xiaoju's face turned pale, and she shrank back. What do you mean by that person behind me?" "Princess Xiaoju, with your intelligence, you won't understand." Yiqing Luo didn't even have the desire to answer her. If the person behind you still wants to be a coward, then directly send the guest off. These people could still maintain their composure in front of her, who was covered in dirt. She was covered in dirt and was in a sorry state. But there was no way she could maintain her composure. Not being able to see the person behind Gong Xiaoju, Yiqing Luo couldn't be bothered to waste her bathing time with this bunch of retards. After Yiqing Luo finished her words, she directly stood up and was about to leave the meeting hall. Suddenly, an extremely melodious, clear voice was heard from outside the door. "You're indeed the eldest young miss of the Gu residence, indeed intelligent." That was a lady's voice. Chapter 4304. Yiqing Luo's brows rose as she looked towards the direction of the voice. The meeting hall's door was opened, and a slender figure walked in slowly. The sunlight outside shone on the lady's exquisite beauty, as though it had coated the lady with a layer of fluorescent light. This lady didn't seem like an ordinary lady. She exuded the style of a strong woman from head to toe, especially that pair of ink-black eyes, which carried the dignity of a superior. Just one look was enough to make one feel respect and awe. Her dressing wasn't ostentatious, although it wasn't simple, but it wasn't complicated either. One could tell that this was a lady with her own independent thoughts. Yiqing Luo was sizing her up. The lady was also sizing Yiqing Luo up. As both of their gazes intersected, there seemed to be some kind of different sparks in the air. When everyone saw the person, they all stood up abruptly. Ren family's old man bowed respectfully towards that person. Eldest young Mississippi, the others also greeted her respectfully. Eldest young Miss Ren. The few of them also greeted her respectfully. Eldest young Miss Ren. The few of them's voices broke the undercurrent surging between the both of them. Yiqing Luo half squinted her eyes as she revealed a deep meaning. She knew that when she saw Gong Xiaoju a few days ago, she was a big-breasted, brainless idiot. Today, every single word and sentence was on point. It was this lady who taught Gong Xiaoju how to speak behind her back. Ren family's eldest young miss, Ren Jianming's elder sister. Eldest young miss. This form of address, really, had an extraordinary meaning. Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes slowly rose as her lips curled into a faint arc. Eldest young Miss Ren, right? Since eldest young miss is so curious about me, why don't you do it yourself? Why must you make use of a fool to do it for you? When she said the word fool, Yiqing Luo's gaze intentionally shot a glance towards Gong Xiaoju. Gong Xiaozhu was both angry and anxious. Who are you calling a fool? I'm talking about whoever replied earlier. Yiqing Luo gave a fake smile. Gong Xiaozhu's face flushed red as she clenched her fists tightly as her body trembled in anger. Don't think that you can continue to be arrogant. With sistering around, who do you think you are? Xiaozhu. The woman spoke and glanced at Gong Xiaozhu indifferently. Gong Xiaozhu's face turned even redder, but she obediently shut her mouth and lowered her head. Yiqing Luo raised her brows. This young mistress of the Ren family seemed to be something. From the looks of it, compared to Ren Jiaming, he was much more formidable. He could even call Gong Xiaozhu's name directly. First Miss of the Gu clan. Ren family's eldest young Miss Ren, Jianying's beautiful eyes met with Yiqing Luo's, as both of their eyes were probing each other. I'm only curious, what kind of lady does my arrogant brother fancy? Yiqing Luo leaned lazily against the back of the chair as her lips curled indifferently. Sorry, I don't fancy your brother. His words shocked the surrounding people, causing their bodies to stiffen and their scalps to go numb. Did this girl know what she was talking about? Looking down on second young Master Ren, she didn't know how many people and clans in the Heaven Realm were thinking of ways to send their daughters to the Ren clan. He was a cultivation prodigy that only appeared once in 100 years. He was also the person who would become the head of the Ren family in the future. Furthermore, did she know that the person she was facing now was the current head of the Ren family, eldest young Miss Ren? Everyone in the old city knew about it. Chapter 43:05. In front of the eldest Miss of the Ren family, she said that she didn't fancy the brother she was so proud of. Eldest Miss of the Gu residence really had guts. But while everyone was in shock, the girl that they were thinking about was still smiling faintly. Ren Jianying's expression sunk slightly. Do you know who is the person whom you rejected? Not interested to know. Yiqing Luo was indifferent. Eldest Miss of the Gu residence. As a person, you need to leave a way out for yourself. Ren Jianying's tone revealed some coercion. Although Bone Lord had brought you back to the Gu residence, but in this Heaven Realm, if you want to adapt, you still need to abide by the Heaven Realm's rules. Yiqing Luo's gaze changed slightly. It wasn't because of Ren Jianying's threat, but Ren Jianying's meaning seemed to be that she knew that she wasn't someone who was in the Heaven Realm right from the start. Did Ren Jianying know that she was brought up from the Earth Realm by the barbaric Bloodbone King? Seeing that Yiqing Luo didn't reply, the stern lines on Ren Jianying's face softened slightly. Eldest Miss of the Gu residence is intelligent and has a forthright character. Although you don't have any profound energy, but you are worthy of my Ren family. Since my brother has taken a liking to you, I will respect my brother's foresight. When Bone Lord is back, I will discuss with the Gu residents about our marriage. Yiqing Luo. Why was it that no matter where she went, she couldn't escape the curse of being mysteriously engaged? She rolled her eyes. Since you like your younger brother so much, why don't you just marry him? Why put on an act in front of me? That sentence shocked the surrounding people so much that their spines turned cold as their palms were filled with cold sweat. What on earth was this eldest Miss of the Gu residence saying? Actually wanted eldest Miss Ren to marry his second young Master Ren? How did she come up with such an earth-shattering idea? Ren Jianying's expression congealed as her expression turned black. Eldest Miss of the Gu residence, you can't talk nonsense. Jiaming is my brother. Yiqing Luo crossed her legs as she was smiling, but there wasn't any hint of smile in her eyes. Anyway, I have no interest in your brother. If you want to find a wife for your brother, go ahead and marry her yourself. Don't drag me into it. I have no time to bother about you. Ren Jianying's expression turned gloomy. She lifted her feet and walked towards Yiqing Luo. With a formless pressure, it poured down in torrents. That exquisite and beautiful face was also filled with a fierce aura. Does the first young miss of the Gu clan really think that the Gu clan can do whatever they want? Her voice was very cold. Yiqing Luo tilted her head as her charming eyes looked at the lady who was getting closer to her, as her expression remained unchanged. I don't know if the Gu residents can cover the sky with one hand, but I know that the Rin family doesn't have that ability. He was just 3 steps away from Yiqing Luo. Rin Jining suddenly stopped in her tracks. Gu Yi's figure, at this instance, shifted to the front of Yiqing Luo, blocking in front of her. Rin Jining's flamboyant and beautiful face was filled with some incomprehensible emotions. I've always heard rumors about the young miss of the Gu clan. Seeing you today, it seems that you're not much different from the rumors. I've finally learned something. Well said, well said. Yiqing Luo replied casually. Chapter 4306. The feather fan in Yiqing Luo's hand swayed slightly and pressed against her alluring pink lips. Return the same words to eldest young Miss Rin. Don't cry and beg me when the time comes. Rin Jining snorted coldly. She straightened her back, raised her chin slightly, and walked towards the door. Let's go. The few people who were frozen in place felt their legs go soft. Seeing that Rin Jining had already walked to the door, he staggered and followed her. Gong Xiaozhu walked at the back with a ferocious expression on his face. When she stepped out of the meeting hall's main door, she turned her head around and stared venomously at Yiqing Luo. Very quickly, Gu Yun came forward and turned her head to look at the door while approaching Yiqing Luo with concern. Eldest young miss, are you all right? Do I look like someone who will get into trouble? Yiqing Luo spread out her hands lazily and said with a smile. Gu Yun looked in the direction of the door again. Her expression was a little grave. Eldest miss, why do you think they came here? Probing. Yiqing Luo smiled. Probe? Gu Yun was puzzled. Probe what? They are investigating the background of this eldest young miss who suddenly appeared in the Gu residence. They also want to know what my position in the Gu residence is. Yiqing Luo explained. Gu Yun nodded in understanding. For example, the Bone Mansion was a force that had absolute power in the Heaven Realm. Any random person who appeared beside Bone Lord would be the center of attention in the Heaven Realm. After all, Bone Lord had personally brought her back and announced her identity as the eldest Mississippi. It would definitely cause a sensation in the entire Heaven Realm. Gu Yun suddenly thought of something, and her expression changed slightly. Since they are here to investigate the position of the eldest miss in the Gu residence, then. Gu San's actions just now, isn't it? Thinking of this, Gu Yun's face instantly turned pale. A hidden guard of the Gu residence had offended his superior in front of outsiders. He did not give the first miss any face at all. If those people spread the news, it was likely that not long later, the entire Heaven Realm would think that eldest miss was not favored in the Gu residence. No wonder eldest miss was so angry at that time. Obviously, Bone Monarch doted on eldest miss so much that he even gave the Bone residence's domino plate to eldest miss. Was this not enough to prove that Bone Lord valued eldest miss? Don't worry, eldest Mississippi. I will definitely punish Gu San severely. I will let the Gu residence's secret guards learn a lesson. Gu Yun's eyes became fierce. Gu Yi, who had been standing by Yiqing Luo's side, trembled slightly. However, he maintained a quiet posture with his head lowered and did not say anything. Yiqing Luo's vision lightly fell onto Gu Yi, as her tone was indifferent. Do you blame me? Gu Yi went into a blank for a moment before he realized that Yiqing Luo was asking him. His stern and rigid face was somewhat stiff. Was it strange? He couldn't tell what he was feeling. It was not strange. Gu San, who had always been by her side for more than 10 years, was ordered by her to carry the name of a traitor and die. It was strange. What she did was not wrong. Wrong, it really was Gu San. He was a secret guard. Shadow guards shouldn't have their own emotions. After a long time, Gui lowered his eyes and said, I don't dare. That is to say, it's weird, but it doesn't dare to. Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes twitched. Gui maintained his posture of lowering his head, as his lips moved, but he didn't know how to explain. Yiqing Luo laughed lightly as she directly walked out of the meeting hall. Chapter 4307. Gui raised his head abruptly. He stared blankly at the young lady's departing figure. In his pupils, there was some kind of emotion surging. He couldn't understand the lady whom Bone Lord had brought back. She obviously had no profound energy, but she lived so wantonly, as though she wasn't afraid of anything. She looked vicious and merciless. But in actual fact, whether it was against Princess Xiaozhu or Gu San, it was all because Princess Xiaozhu and Gu San took the initiative to provoke her. That was why she retaliated. But to those who treated her well, for example, Gu Yun was repaying with the most sincere kindness. Earlier, that sentence of hers was a reminder to him. Gu San's ending was already decided. After all, many outsiders had seen it. If he helped, he would only become Gu San's accomplice. Her reminder was because, earlier, when Ren Jining approached, he blocked in front of her. Yiqing Luo came out of the meeting hall. The first thing she did was to rush into the hot spring room to take a bath. Because of the previous incident where Ren Jining peeped. At this moment, Gu Yun was guarding at the entrance of the hot spring room, until Yiqing Luo tidied herself up, dressed neatly, and walked out of the hot spring room. Gu Yun held a cloak in her hand as she draped it over Yiqing Luo. "Eldest miss, what do you want to do next? Do you need me to help you find out Zhao and Li family, as well as Ren family's next move?" Ever since Yiqing Luo mentioned that the group of them came to the Gu residence to investigate, Gu Yun's heart had been tense because of Gu San's matter. Yiqing Luo sat on the stone bench, allowing Gu Yun to wipe her wet hair, as she replied disapprovingly, "No need. They could do whatever they want. Don't tell me Gu residents can't stop them." Gu Yun's hand paused for a moment. If the Zhao and Li family want to take action on Gu residents naturally can stop them, but there's still the Ren family. She paused for a moment before continuing. Ren family's internal affairs are extremely complicated. Ren family's second young master, although his innate talent is outstanding, but because of his innate talent, he was pampered by the Ren family since young. He only thinks about eating, drinking, and playing, totally without the temperament of a future patriarch. On the surface, the Ren clan is managed by the Ren clan's clan head. However, in reality, the true master of the Ren clan is the Ren clan's eldest young Mississippi. When Yiqing Luo heard that, her originally closed eyes suddenly opened. No wonder. She felt that Ren Jining had the demeanor of a superior. No matter how one looked at her, she had the demeanor of a strong and valiant woman. Who would have thought that he would actually be this strong? The Ren family's second young master has always been idle, and does not have the slightest interest in inheriting the position of Ren family's family head. Many powers are saying that in the future, the Ren family might become the first female family head to be succeeded by a woman. Gu Yun saw that Yiqing Luo's interest was piqued and continued. Today, Ren family's eldest young miss came over personally. Based on Ren family's eldest young miss character, I'm afraid she won't let this matter rest. Yiqing Luo touched her lower jaw as her pink lips rose slightly. Looks like this Ren family is quite fun. A glint flashed across her eyes. Did he have nothing better to do? Did he not have the slightest interest in inheriting the position of patriarch? He wasn't interested. Or did he not dare to be interested? Yiqing Luo recalled how she looked when she met Ren Jiaming. Between her breathing, she snorted lightly. Eldest young miss, before Bone Lord returns to the residence. If it's possible, it's best to avoid any conflict with the Ren family. Gu Yun reminded. Chapter 43:08. But for the past few days, Yiqing Luo was either loitering around the old city's streets and alleys or cooped up in the Gu residence. He knew his place and didn't cause any trouble. While Gu Yun heaved a sigh of relief, she also felt a little helpless. Because during this period of time, from time to time, the second young master of the Ren family would enter the Bone residence. From time to time, it would appear in front of Yiqing Luo. From time to time, he would create some romantic surprises. After the commotion in the Gu residence was over, there was a commotion outside. After the commotion outside, the commotion at home began. In any case, Everyone in the old city knew that the second young master of the Ren family had taken a liking to the first young lady of the Gu clan. He was thinking of ways and means to pursue the first young lady of the Gu clan. It was also rumored that the first young miss of the Gu family did not like the second young master of the Ren family at all and had righteously rejected the second young master of the Ren family. However, the second young master of the Ren family was shameless and only wanted to win the beauty. This news broke the hearts of all the girls in the old city. They missed the second young master of the Ren family, and they couldn't bear to see him suffer even the slightest bit. However, in front of the first miss of the Gu residence, he had to lower his head and act like a child. His heart ached. As a result, all the young ladies in the old city held deep resentment towards the first miss of the Gu clan. Wherever Yiqing Luo went, she could feel the sinister wind coming from her back. Yiqing Luo. Couldn't she reject him even if she didn't like him? Only by rejecting their male idol would they have a chance, right? What was there to hate? Young miss, where else do you want to go? Behind him, Ren Jianming smiled obsequiously. He was carrying all kinds of big bags on his back and many small ones in his hands. Those were all. Ren family's second young master's beautiful excuse, bought for Yiqing Luo to make her happy. As long as Yiqing Luo passed by, her eyes would stop on something for a second longer. He bought them all. He was so rich that he had no friends. Yiqing Luo couldn't be bothered to stop her. In any case, this silly man was stupid and had a lot of money. Yiqing Luo didn't even bother about him. Ren Jianming was really annoying when he started pestering people. However, when he became shameless, no matter how he was beaten, scolded, or given a face, he would still come up to them with a smirk. She had even tried using drugs to force him to retreat. Once the effects of the medicine wore off, Ren Jianming could continue to pester her with a smirk. Yiqing Luo was really impressed by Ren Jianming's thick skin. She really didn't know what part of her had caught Ren Jianming's eyes that were growing on top of her head. She was a trash without any profound energy. Aside from her title as the first young miss of the Gu residence, Gu Riyun was not the only one. There didn't seem to be anything that could attract Ren Jianming, right? However, with Ren Jianming's status and identity, did he still need to find her, the young miss of the Gu residence, for a marriage alliance? Isn't the wind cloud list going to start soon? Don't you need to cultivate by following me around every day? Yiqing Luo glanced sideways at Ren Jianming. It was only half a month away from the wind cloud list. Many high officials, nobles, and the participating profound practitioners were all training madly just to achieve a good result on the wind and cloud list. And this, Ren Jianming, who had vowed from the very beginning that he would come out on top on the billboard, was following behind her every day, doing nothing. Hearing Yiqing Luo's question, Ren Jianming's eyes lit up. His smile was full of flattery, and his eyes were bright. So eldest miss is so concerned about me? So afraid that the person you're going to marry isn't me? Eldest miss, don't worry. I will definitely be able to get first place on the wind cloud list and then marry you grandly. Chapter 4309. Even if I don't cultivate, I'll definitely take the top spot on the excellence list. The more Ren Jianming spoke, the more excited he became. His sparkling eyes blinked as he looked at Yiqing Luo, revealing an affectionate gaze. Even if it's for eldest young miss, this master will also work hard. Yiqing Luo. Get lost. Yiqing Luo rolled her eyes. She would only talk to a lunatic if she was sick. Ren Jianming was a lunatic. However, Ren Jianming's tone was indeed full of confidence. Was this the difference between a genius and a useless person? The others worked hard, cultivated, trained, and improved themselves time and time again. As for him, he just wandered around here and there. He looked as if he had never cultivated before. However, he was confident that he would be able to obtain the top spot on the wind cloud list. Sigh, there was no point in being envious. If he had talent, that was his own ability. Yiqing Luo didn't bother about Ren Jianming as she continued to wander around the streets. Wherever he went, there would be many onlookers gathering behind him. Yiqing Luo didn't bother about them. During this period of time, Yiqing Luo seemed to be wandering around the streets with nothing to do. In reality, he was trying to figure out the terrain of the old city. In her mind, she could already picture the topography of the old city. She knew exactly what kind of power they were and where they were located. At the same time, he also heard some gossip in the restaurant and learned some news about the major powers in the old city. This would allow him to better grasp information about the Heaven Realm before the Bloodbone Barbarian King. In this half a month, Yiqing Luo had yet to destroy the Gu residence. He could not be bothered to instigate the people of the Bone residence. Ever since the news of Gu San being dismembered by 5 horses, it had spread throughout the entire Gu residence. Everyone knew that this seemingly gentle and weak young lady was not like what she seemed on the surface. On the contrary, he was extremely arrogant. When he was insolent, he was even scarier than their Lord Bone's sovereign. All of them didn't dare to provoke Yiqing Luo. But after all, Yiqing Luo was an outsider. After Bone Lord brought the person back, he didn't stand by Yiqing Luo's side to announce it in front of everyone. Everyone's attitude towards Yiqing Luo was merely conforming to the norm. Today is the day that the 100 Medicine House is auctioning pills. Suddenly, the snake man behind her opened his mouth in surprise, and in a few steps, he had already jumped in front of Yiqing Luo. Ren Jiaming's face was full of excitement. "Eldest Miss, let's go. I'll take you to the 100 Medicine House to play. Aren't you an apothecary? There are many rare herbs in the 100 Medicine House. You will definitely be interested in them." Following Ren Jiaming's gaze, Yiqing Luo looked toward the corner not too far away, which looked extremely simple and unadorned. At the entrance of the courtyard, there were already 2 long lines. There were men and women, young and old, and it was extremely lively. Yiqing Luo searched for information about the 100 Medicine House in her mind. It was the largest medicinal hall in the entire city, and it seemed that the power behind it was one of the 4 great families. However, no one knew exactly what faction it was. In addition, the 100 Medicine House was in the business of elixirs. Profound practitioners who cultivated basically had a need for elixirs. Buying pills from the 100 Medicine House was more or less giving face to the 100 Medicine House. For a long time, no one dared to cause trouble in the 100 Medicine House. Regarding 100 Medicine House's understanding, Yiqing Luo was only limited to the surface. She really didn't know about the day of the 100 Medicine House's auction. Usually, towards those rare and precious elixirs, Yiqing Luo really wouldn't put it to heart. Chapter 43:10. But now, do I have to queue up? Yiqing Luo decisively chose. Go. Who knows, she might really encounter some rare herbs. Ren Jiaming's eyes lit up even more. He spread his feet and rushed towards 100 Medicine House. He threw all the big and small bags that he was carrying onto the apprentice who was guarding the entrance. Following that, he stuffed a bag of crystal stones into the apprentice's hand. Go, go, go. Send these things to the Gu residence. That apprentice was dumbfounded and only reacted when he saw Yiqing Luo walking over slowly. The apprentice took the crystal stones and left. Ren Jiaming was relaxed as he stared at Yiqing Luo with his burning eyes, putting on a smile which he thought was suave. "Eldest Miss, follow me, and you don't need to queue up wherever you want to go." Saying that, he stretched out his hand towards Yiqing Luo. "Eldest Miss, I'll bring you in." Yiqing Luo shot a glance at that long queue as the corners of her lips twitched. These people should be here to collect the free medicinal herbs from 100 Medicine House. Along the way, many people were discussing. She heard it all. 100 Medicine House would set up an auction for rare herbs at the beginning of every month, and on the day of the auction, they would also distribute 1,000 sets of medicinal pills or medicinal herbs. The medicinal pills distributed were mostly refined by 100 Medicine House's apprentices. There were some low-grade healing pills or to regulate one's breath, replenish energy, etc. Of course, the medicinal pills which 100 Medicine House distributed were all tested to ensure the medicinal effect and absolute safety. Because of this, Many cultivators would run over to collect their medicinal pills. After all, not every cultivator was filthy rich. There were also poor cultivators. Ren Jiaming's pretentious act failed, but there was no trace of embarrassment on his face as he maintained his suave smile and winked at Yiqing Luo. "I can bring you to the VIP seats." Yiqing Luo placed her fan on his face. "Lead the way." "All right." Ren Jiaming was all smiles as he walked in front, leading the way for Yiqing Luo. Ren Jiaming's face was his pass. After entering Hunter Medicine House, there was no need for a full body check like the other guests. The two of them directly entered the auction house set up by the Hunter Medicine House. There were even apothecaries who came to welcome them. The apothecary arranged seats for them in the first row. This position was directly facing the auction stage, so the view was excellent. Exquisite snacks and tea were placed on both sides of the seats. Ren Jiaming poured a cup of hot tea and passed it to Yiqing Luo in a fawning manner. "Eldest miss, are there many benefits if you follow this young master? As long as you marry this young master, you can also enjoy these benefits." Yiqing Luo received the tea, which he passed over, and took a sip before rolling her eyes at him. It seemed that, since that time when she had a conflict with Gong Xiazhu on the street and poisoned Ren Jiaming's attitude towards her was even more enthusiastic than before. Could it be that this Ren Jiaming was actually a masochist? He loved the feeling of being abused by her. Was that why he kept pestering her? After all, in the entire heaven realm, it seemed like only she would dare to bully him, right? Thinking of this, Yiqing Luo's gaze towards Ren Jiaming was filled with a peculiar expression. "Brother Ming." Suddenly, a woman's sullen low voice was heard from behind, and a slender figure rushed over in quick steps. The woman was dressed in a luxurious palace dress, and her dressing was dignified and elegant, but her face was filled with anger. Chapter 43:11. This lady, wasn't she Princess Xiazhu? Yiqing Luo looked at the lady's gaze lazily. She sighed silently in her heart. It was indeed a law that couldn't be changed. Auctions were equivalent to creating trouble. It wasn't that she was meddling in other people's affairs, but there were always some retarded people who stretched their faces out for her to slap. Gong Xiazhu clenched her luxurious sleeves and looked at Ren Jiaming affectionately with her beautiful eyes that were covered with exquisite eye makeup. She pouted as she felt wronged. "Brother Ming, didn't you say you don't have time when I invited you to attend Hunter Medicine House's auction?" Gong Xiazhu was about to go crazy from anger. Early in the morning, she opened the invitation that Yu Ying sent to Ren Jiaming. She hoped that Ren Jiaming would accompany her to represent the royal family to attend this auction, because Hunter Medicine House had always been doing good deeds. Every time they auctioned off half of the crystals, they would donate it to various places in Heaven Realm. He wanted to build shelters for all the profound practitioners, give them a place to stay, and give them a place to cultivate. The royal family naturally came over to express their gratitude. But Ren Jiaming used the excuse that he didn't have time to reject her invitation. But when he came here, she saw Ren Jiaming attentively serving tea to Yiqing Luo and even gave a fawning smile. Thinking of the rumors that had spread throughout the old city these few days, Gong Xiazhu gritted her teeth so hard that they almost broke. She couldn't wait to chop Yiqing Luo into pieces. Her brother Ming should be high up, like a celestial being. That slut from Gu residence actually gave Brother Ming a hard time. Gong Xiazhu was so angry that her eyes turned red. But towards her inner thoughts, Ren Jiaming apparently had no intention to understand. As his gaze swept over her, his expression became a little more indifferent. His tone of voice was also very indifferent. "That's right. I really don't have the time to accompany the eldest Mississippi, Brother Ming." Gong Xiazhu's face turned pale as she stared at him in disbelief. She didn't believe that Ren Jiaming didn't know about her feelings towards him, but he still hurt her heart. It must be that slut from Gu residence who forced him to do so. Gong Xiazhu bit her lower lip as her hands curled into fists. In the end, he angrily flung his sleeves, and sat next to Ren Jiaming. Ren Jiaming did not care about Gong Xiaoju's existence. Following that, he looked towards Yi Qing Luo as his face resumed his smile. "Eldest young miss, if there's anything you fancy, just tell me, and I'll buy it for you." Yi Qing Luo propped up her chin as her long and narrow eyes wandered between Ren Jianming and Gong Xiaoju with a smile, which didn't look like a smile. After Ren Jianming said this, Yi Shiwen's expression changed. Yi Qing Luo could obviously feel Gong Xiaoju's venomous gaze falling onto her. Yi Qing Luo clicked her tongue. I wonder if this brat did it on purpose. He was quite good at attracting hatred. I'm afraid Gong Xiaoju won't let this auction go easily. As expected, everything was as Yi Qing Luo had predicted. When the auction of the rare herbs began, as long as her gaze lingered on the auction item for a moment longer, Gong Xiaoju would raise the price. And because she had taken an extra glance, Ren Jiaming was determined to get the medicinal ingredients. Therefore, the two of them competed against each other. After a while, when it came to the fifth item, Yi Qing Luo took another look at it. The two of them were still competing against each other. Yi Qing Luo was always the last to make him give up bidding. Chapter 43:12. Ren Jiaming couldn't take it anymore. He wanted to show off in front of the girl he liked. There would always be idiots messing around. His expression turned gloomy as he cast a cold glance at Gong Xiaoju. "Princess Xiaoju, when are you going to stop?" Gong Xiaoju bit her lower lip, and her exquisite makeup couldn't hide her pale face. She took a deep breath, stubbornly looked into Ren Jiaming's eyes, and slightly raised her chin. "I like it, so it's naturally mine. You like her? What's the point of you shooting these things?" Ren Jiaming's tone was full of sarcasm. This was like a slap to Gong Xiaoju's face. Her face alternated between green and white. Her poisonous eyes looked at Ren Jianming with hatred. "How do you know that I'm useless? Only the first miss of the Gu residence is allowed to refine pills. Does our imperial family not have any alchemists?" This was the first time Ren Jiaming had seen such an expression on Gong Xiaoju's face. In his memories, when he first met Gong Xiaoju's eyes were filled with love when she saw him. Ren Jiaming did not speak for a while. Yi Qing Luo naturally saw this scene. She curled her pink lips into a faint smile, and her meaningful gaze fell on Gong Xiaoju. This Princess Xiaoju, could it be that she had been corrupted? They were stimulated by Ren Jiaming. Ren Jiaming was even willing to glare at him. Did he hate Ren Jiaming? However, this had little to do with her. She didn't care about the development between Ren Jiaming and Gong Xiaoju. Yi Qing Luo retracted her vision and placed her gaze back onto the auction stage. Compared to the entanglement of love and hate between the two people beside him, those medicinal herbs were more attractive to her. At this moment, a huge stone box was placed on the auction stage. The stone box was made of excellent material. It felt as if water had penetrated through ice. Yi Qing Luo raised her eyebrows slightly. This kind of stone box should be carved from thousand-year-old ice. The medicinal herbs needed to be placed in the millennium frigid ice. Yi Qing Luo was intrigued. Her long and narrow eyes narrowed. The shopkeeper of 100 Medicine House slowly opened the wooden box. Inside, there was a green plant that seemed to be dripping mist. The branches were roughly as thick as a finger, and there were countless fibrous roots growing out of them. They formed the shape of a mountain, densely packed and intertwined with one another. In the stone box, there were still traces of cold air floating around. In Yi Qing Luo's mind, she instantly matched this medicinal herb with one of the contents in the 100-pill refining manual. Illusionary 3 do grasp this herb. She had never seen it in the Nirvana realm. For this herb, the contents of the 100 refinement pill were very simple. High-level medicinal herbs, highly toxic, cleansing the bones, and even reviving the dead. Only one function: medicine. As for what kind of medicine it was not made clear. Facing these few lines of words, Yi Qing Luo was speechless. If not for the fact that Zhang Xian knew the contents of the 100 refinements pill, he would have believed it to be true. She even suspected that what was written on it might be nonsense. Not only was it highly toxic, but it was also a cleansing method. How could he cleanse his foundation if he was poisoned? Can a highly toxic poison be brought back to life? Wasn't poison supposed to kill with a single touch? Also, why could poison be used as a catalyst? The catalyst for the poison? Just as Yiqing Luo was rubbing her chin, thinking about the real use of the three-dew grass, suddenly a voice came from the side. This princess bids 5 million crystal stones. It was Gong Xiazhu. Yiqing Luo glanced sideways, then met with Gong Xiazhu's provocative gaze. So, that fellow saw her staring at the three-dew grass, thinking that she wanted it. Chapter 43:13. Gong Xiazhu felt that snatching the medicinal herb, which she had her eyes on, was considered as winning her. Wasn't that a little too childish? She could say that from the start till the end, the only thing which piqued her interest was only this stalk of three-dew grass. 1 million. Ren Jiaming immediately raised his paddle. As he raised his paddle, he leaned his head over and looked at Yiqing Luo. Eldest young miss, you don't need to save money for me. I don't have many other things, but I have a lot of money. If she wants to snatch it, I will compete with her till the end. His voice wasn't soft at all. Gong Xiazhu naturally heard all of this, whereas at this moment, there was someone else who had bid for the three-dew grass to 8 million crystal stones. Gong Xiazhu directly raised her paddle. 10 million, 11 million. Ren Jiaming hurriedly raised his paddle. Earlier, when Yiqing Luo stopped those medicinal herbs, he didn't continue bidding because he could tell that Yiqing Luo didn't have any special feelings towards those medicinal herbs. But earlier, Yiqing Luo had obviously stared at the illusion three-dew grass for a longer period of time. Moreover, her eyes were filled with curiosity towards the three-dew grass, something which the goddess liked. He must get it for his goddess. Gong Xiazhu pursed her lips tightly. 15 million. Ren Jiaming didn't increase the bid as he just raised it by 1 million with Gong Xiazhu. The others could tell that the undercurrent between the two of them was surging. No one joined in their bidding until Gong Xiazhu shouted out a bid of 25 million. Yiqing Luo raised her hand and pressed Ren Jiaming's hand, which was raising his paddle, as she glanced at him indifferently. There's no need to bid. Ren Jiaming's eyes were fixated on Yiqing Luo's hand, which was pressing on his arm as his eyes were filled with agitation. His lips curled into a huge smile. He looked a little silly. The goddess took the initiative to hold his hand. Hold his hand. Hand. Agitated, he directly raised his other hand and shouted loudly, 26 million. The goddess took the initiative to hold his hand. How could he let the goddess down? Are you silly? Yiqing Luo released his arm as she glanced sideways at Gong Xiazhu, who was preparing to bid. An indistinct teasing look flashed past her eyes. The corners of his mouth curled up into a sly smile. Without waiting for Ren Jiaming to speak, she then said lightly, that piece of broken grass isn't worth this price. Princess Xiazhu likes to act foolishly, so I'm just cooperating with her. She's a princess of the royal family after all. It's only right for her to do more good deeds. Ren Jiaming stared blankly for a moment. His mind quickly turned. You mean to say you stared at the medicinal herbs on purpose? Otherwise, why would I stop you? Yiqing Luo raised her brows and asked. Ren Jiaming slowly put down his hand that was holding the signboard. His face was full of disappointment. It was so hard to please the goddess. Was there really nothing that could catch the eye of the goddess? Their positions were very close to Gong Xiazhu. Whatever Yiqing Luo said, Gong Xiazhu naturally heard it all. She stood up in anger. First young miss of the Gu residence, are you playing with me? Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes rose as she looked at her lazily. How could it be teasing? Isn't Princess Xiazhu's purpose of coming here to do good deeds for the development of the heaven realm? Gong Xiazhu's expression sunk. The crystals that she had used in this auction had already exceeded the amount of crystals that her imperial father had given her. If there weren't enough crystals, she would have to deduct it from her princess residence. Chapter 43:14. If these losses could make Yi Qing Luo suffer, she would feel comfortable spending so many crystal stones. But Yi Qing Luo had purposely tricked her into bidding for medicinal herbs at a high price. How could she be reconciled to this? They couldn't wait to skin Yi Qing Luo alive. You did it on purpose. Gong Xiaozhu was so angry that her whole body was trembling, and her face was hideous. Yi Qing Luo couldn't help but burst out laughing. Am I holding a knife to your neck to force you to bid? Gong Xiaozhu was rendered speechless. Princess Xiaozhu, the shopkeeper of the 100 Medicine House cautiously said, If Princess Xiaozhu still wants to continue bidding, please raise your sign. Princess Xiaozhu's current behavior has affected everyone. Gong Xiaozhu's face sank. Her eyes were like torches as she glared at the manager. The shopkeeper shrunk his neck. To this arrogant and despotic Princess Xiaozhu, the entire old city kept a respectful distance from him. If he could avoid provoking them, he would try his best not to. Yi Qing Luo rubbed her chin lazily. Princess Xiaozhu must remember that today you are representing the royal family. Gong Xiaozhu wanted to cause trouble. Then it could be said that Gong Xiaozhu had received the emperor's decree, which was why she caused trouble in the 100 Medicine House. Gong Xiaozhu naturally did not dare to do so. It was fine for him to be arrogant and willful when he represented his own identity. But the reputation of the royal family was at stake. No matter how much imperial father dotes on her, he will still punish her because of this. Gong Xiaozhu returned to her seat angrily. The shopkeeper cautiously glanced at Gong Xiaozhu, then tentatively said, 26 million crystals going once. After shouting, he paused for a moment. Gong Xiaozhu didn't have much of a reaction. Only his face was steely green as he stared unblinkingly at Yi Qing Luo's direction. Only then did he heave a sigh of relief and confirm it a second time. Yi Qing Luo turned her head towards Gong Xiaozhu as she gave a smile, which didn't look like a smile. Isn't Princess Xiaozhu bidding anymore? This is the that I want. Gong Xiaozhu was so angry that her face trembled. I don't want to. These 5 words were practically squeezed out from between the gaps of her teeth, one word at a time. Previously, those messy, unknown medicinal herbs were used by Yi Qing Luo in this way to intentionally cheat her to bid for them. How dare he lie to her now? Yi Qing Luo gave a regretful sigh as she shifted her gaze away. Upon seeing this, Gong Xiaozhu was even more determined in her thoughts. The third confirmation was the final word. Ren Jiaming won the illusionary 3 dewgrass with a price of 26 million crystal stones. When the next auction item was brought up, Yi Qing Luo slowly got up. Let's go. Ren Jiaming was still immersed in the depression of not being able to please the goddess. Then you can continue to stay here. Yi Qing Luo didn't even turn her head back. Miss, don't you want to continue looking at the rest of the herbs? There will definitely be something that will interest you. Ren Jiaming hurriedly followed. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled upwards, the corners of her eyes curved upwards, outlining a seductive poppy. What I want, you have already bought it. What do you mean? Before he could say West, Ren Jiaming seemed to have thought of something. You're talking about that illusion, 3 dewgrass? Yes. Yi Qing Luo nodded with a smile. That's a good thing. You definitely won't lose out. This young master will give it to you. Ren Jiaming's face was filled with joy as he immediately took the crystal stones and ran over to exchange for the 3 dewgrass which he had bid for. Their conversation was heard clearly by Gong Xiaozhu, who was sitting by the side. Her expression instantly turned steely green. She abruptly stood up and pointed at Yi Qing Luo. Her voice was filled with hatred. You! Chapter 43:15. Good. Gong Xiaozhu clenched her teeth tightly, as though this was the only way to maintain her emotions. Her malevolent face was totally unable to adjust. Yi Qing Luo smiled like a flower. I'm naturally very well, but Princess Xiaozhu should have suffered a heavy loss today, so she won't be able to recover. Gong Xiaoju's entire body was trembling slightly, as though her eyes were about to spit out fire. She couldn't suppress the hatred in her heart towards a young lady in front of her. Yiqing Luo didn't care. When she raised her eyes, she saw Run Jianming carrying the stone box which contained the 3-dew grass, as he walked over excitedly. She walked past Gong Xiaoju as she headed towards the entrance of the auction venue. Ren Jianming hurriedly followed up. Not even a corner of his eyes swept towards Gong Xiaoju until the two figures disappeared at the entrance. Gong Xiaoju's body seemed to have lost all her energy as she sat weakly on the seat. That sinister and twisted face that was covered in the rain was bursting with the most vicious anger. No one dared to look towards Gong Xiaoju's direction. Among the people present, there was no lack of prominent people. Their actions weren't because they were afraid of Gong Xiaoju, but trouble. They didn't want to get into this kind of trouble. After walking out of 100 Medicinal House, Ren Jianming followed behind Yiqing Luo as he passed the stone box to her. "Eldest miss, this is for you." Yiqing Luo didn't receive it. After a few steps, she suddenly halted her footsteps. Ren Jianming hurriedly halted his footsteps as he smiled and leaned in front of her. The man's handsome face was filled with a fawning look as his eyes started to sparkle. Yiqing Luo looked at him fixedly for some time. If it wasn't for the fact that her emotions were very mild, and her gaze was also very mild, Ren Jianming might even think that she was beginning to fall for his handsomeness and elegance. But her gaze apparently wasn't sinking into it. After staring for a long time, Yiqing Luo frowned as she asked calmly, "What do you want to do?" Ren Jianming looked at her blankly with a puzzled look. "Say, your real motive." Yiqing Luo didn't beat around the bush. Ren Jianming scratched his head as though he didn't understand. "My real motive? What motive?" "If you don't say it, you won't have the chance to say it in future." Yiqing Luo didn't want to talk nonsense with him as she turned around and left. Ren Jianming's eyes sunk slightly as he speedily shifted towards Yiqing Luo, blocking her in front. There was no longer the fawning and flattering expression on his face. On his handsome face, his gaze was a little deep. "Are you going to say it?" Yiqing Luo raised her brows. "How did you find out?" Ren Jianming looked into her eyes with curiosity. "I thought I acted well." "Eyes." Yiqing Luo tilted her head as her lips curled slightly. "The way you look at me, from the first time you saw me, it's totally different." It was as if he had become another person. When Ren Jianming first met her, the way he looked at her was obviously filled with intense interest, but it was not disgusting. But the second time they met, there was obviously a slight change in him. His eyes were filled with the desire to possess her. Yes, possessive. It was a possessive desire to let her belong to him alone. But there was no love in this possessiveness. After that, Ren Jianming began to pester her, as though he really fell deeply in love with her. He was wholeheartedly thinking of marrying her. So he kept pestering her and followed behind her. Fawning, acting dumb. Yiqing Luo didn't believe that just a few meetings could make a man be dead set on her, and even change because of her. She didn't believe it. Chapter 43:16. Ren Jianming looked at her silently. After a long time, his chest shook as he laughed out loud. "Eldest young miss of the Gu residence, I realize that I'm really liking you more and more." As he said that, his body suddenly got closer to Yiqing Luo. That handsome face was magnified in Yiqing Luo's pupils from a close distance. He grinned as his smile was filled with some evilness. Just like that, he got close to her ear as he muttered softly, "This sentence is from my heart." The unfamiliar man's breath seeped into her nostrils. Yiqing Luo frowned as she speedily took a step back, leaving the encirclement of Ren Jianming's masculine breath. She didn't like her body to be tainted with any man other than Xian's scent. She couldn't stand any man other than Xian's scent. Yiqing Luo's action made Ren Jianming spread his arms wide as he laughed. "Eldest young miss, be my Ren family's mistress. As long as you're willing. In this heaven realm, whatever you want, I can do it for you." The gaze which he stared at Yiqing Luo was filled with greed towards his prey. This was Ren Jiaming's real face. Yiqing Luo met his overbearing gaze, but there wasn't any emotion on her face. Then do you know what I want? Gu residence? Ren family? Or Lord of Heaven Realm? Ren Jiaming spat out every single word, which was enough to make most cultivators go crazy. His gaze was locked onto Yiqing Luo's face, not wanting to miss any change in her emotions. But on that young lady's exquisite face, there wasn't any hint of greed or yearning. That pair of eyes, which were as bright as stars, was filled with calmness and indifference. Like nothing could arouse her interest. After Ren Jiaming's words landed, the atmosphere froze for a moment. The two of them didn't speak again. After a moment of silence, a young lady's calm voice rang. Before discussing terms with me, second young Master Run had better investigate clearly what I want. Her pink lips curled slightly, curving into ridicule and disdain. Tightly, she turned around and left. Yiqing Luo had just taken a few steps when Ren Jiaming's voice was heard from behind. Eldest young miss, I only want you to help me save someone. As long as you're willing, whatever you want, I can give it to you. Yiqing Luo stopped in her tracks and turned around to look at him. Save people? If even you, second young Master Run, can't save someone, then I, a good-for-nothing with no Xian energy, can't even save him. Only you can. Ren Jiaming's eyes were resolute as he said, if it wasn't for the fact that I had no other choice, I wouldn't have taken the risk to find someone I don't even know. Yiqing Luo raised her brows. The smile on her lips was very casual. I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you. I'm good at killing people, but I really don't know how to save people. With that, she left without hesitation. Ren Jiaming didn't follow them. The Ren family had such a complicated relationship, and Yiqing Luo didn't want to be dragged into it to turn into a big drama. She was someone that Ren Jiaming wanted to save. Must be a troublesome person. She did not hear Gu Yun use the word save when it came to the Ren family or anyone's situation. However, Ren Jiaming would rather look for a stranger like her. He was also unwilling to seek help from the Ren family. TSK. Just the thought of it was troublesome. Yiqing Luo pouted her lips. She didn't want to get involved in this mess. Chapter 43:17. Eldest young miss, why? Is second young Master Ren not around today? Recently, Ren Jiaming had been sticking to her eldest young miss's side shamelessly, and she couldn't chase him away. Today, he actually let eldest young miss come back alone. Could it be that the both of them had a quarrel? Yiqing Luo stretched out her hand and hooked Gu Yun's shoulder as she leaned close to her and gave a naughty smile. Little Gu Yun, you seem to value second young Master Ren very much. Are you disappointed that you didn't see him today? Gu Yun's body stiffened as her face revealed a shocked expression, as her facial features revealed resistance. Eldest young miss, this joke is not funny. How could I possibly value that kind of sil pants? She hurriedly explained. I just felt strange and asked out of curiosity. I absolutely have no improper thoughts towards second young Master Run. Looking at the lady's anxious and shy look, Yiqing Luo burst out laughing. She pinched Gu Yun's face and said with a smile, I'm just joking. That's second young Master Ren. I've already told him clearly. If there's nothing wrong with his brain, he probably won't bother me anymore. Hence, the next morning, Yiqing Luo finished washing up and followed Gu Yun to the main hall for breakfast. She saw, Ren, something wrong with his brain. Jian Ming, Yiqing Luo, this fellow is really a lingering spirit. What on earth was he trying to do? She seemed to have made it very clear yesterday, right? Still not willing to give up? Master Ren, why are you here again? Gu Yun stood in front of Yiqing Luo, guarding against Ren Jiaming's approach like a wolf. Ren Jiaming's eyes were burning as he stared at Yiqing Luo, as his eyes were filled with smiles. Eldest young miss is my fiancée. Why can't I come to see her? Master Ren, please conduct yourself with dignity. Gu Yun frowned slightly. Master Ren's actions and words have already affected eldest young Mississippi. Ren Jiaming's gaze went past Gu Yun and fell onto Yiqing Luo. His smile was the same as the flattery and fawning over the past few days. His eyes were filled with deep affection towards Yi Qing Luo. "Eldest young miss, where do you want to go today? I'll accompany you." Yi Qing Luo lifted her eyes slightly and met Ren Jiaming's eyes. She stretched out her hand and placed it on Gu Yun's shoulder. "You can leave first." Gu Yun looked at Yi Qing Luo worriedly and looked at Ren Jiaming vigilantly. Didn't First Mistress say yesterday that young Master Ren wouldn't bother her anymore? Something must have happened between young Master Ren and Eldest Miss for her to say that. But now, young Master Ren was pestering Eldest Miss again. Gu Yun seriously suspected that young Master Ren wanted to harm young Miss. "Don't worry, there's still Gu Yi around." Yi Qing Luo knew what Gu Yun was worried about as she patted her shoulder. This girl that the barbaric Bloodbone King had arranged for her, his wariness and hostility towards Ren Jiaming were very strong. It was unknown just what Ren Jiaming had done in the Gu residence previously. Gu Yun hesitated for a moment. Under Yi Qing Luo's insistence, he left the house first. Yi Qing Luo walked directly to the dining table and sat down, minding her own business as she started to eat her breakfast. He didn't even spare Ren Jiaming a glance. Ren Jiaming followed Yi Qing Luo and sat beside her. He originally thought that Yi Qing Luo would ask Gu Yun to leave to have a good talk with him. But after Gu Yun left, Yi Qing Luo seemed as though she couldn't see him at all. Chapter 43:18. "Eldest young miss, I hope you can consider my suggestion last night." His tone was somewhat solemn. The expression on his face turned serious in an instant. Yi Qing Luo lowered her eyes and looked at the hand on her arm. "Second young Master Ren, have you forgotten not to touch me casually?" Her voice just fell. Ren Jiaming's hand suddenly felt like it was pricked by a needle. He retracted his hand abruptly. His entire palm had already turned jet black. The prickling pain of the needle spread through his palm. His hand trembled in pain, and his brows knitted tightly. Yi Qing Luo continued to eat her breakfast without any change in expression. "Eldest young miss, I am serious." Ren Jiaming was panting as he spoke. He couldn't help sucking in cold air due to the piercing pain in his palm. But he still looked at Yi Qing Luo and continued, "You are a pharmacist. Only you can save him." No matter what Ren Jiaming said, Yi Qing Luo ate her food calmly. Until she was full and put down her chopsticks, she raised her head lightly. "Second young Master Ren, I'm a pharmacist, but that doesn't mean I can save people. Looking at the entire Heaven Realm, it's easy to find a high-level pharmacist with your family's power. Yes, I really don't know if you can save him." Ren Jiaming lowered his head and pursed his thin lips, "But this is the only chance." Ren Jiaming suddenly stood up and fixed his eyes on Yi Qing Luo. "I can't beat the grass and alert the snake. I don't trust anyone in Heaven Realm. Only you." His hands slowly clenched into fists. One by one, he squeezed tightly, as if he had completely ignored his poisoned right hand. "You don't trust the people in Heaven Realm, but trust an outsider like me?" Yi Qing Luo snorted lightly. "Aren't you afraid that I am the most dangerous person?" "Afraid." Ren Jiaming was very honest, "But I want to take a gamble. Betting on you is my only chance." Yi Qing Luo's words had just opened her mouth. Only a plop sound was heard. Ren Jiaming knelt down heavily. He knelt in front of Yi Qing Luo with an unprecedented serious expression on his face. "Eldest young miss, as a sign of sincerity, I can tell you some things that I can tell you." Yi Qing Luo stood up, avoiding the direction where Ren Jiaming was kneeling. Her expression was still very indifferent. Her gaze on Ren Jiaming was so indifferent that no one could tell what she was thinking. "Don't tell me, I don't want to know." Yi Qing Luo waved her hand. "It's just an accident that I'm here, and I don't intend to implicate too many complicated things." Ren Jiaming did not dare to look for a pharmacist in the Heaven Realm. He did not dare to spread the news of the person he had saved. That person's identity in the Heaven Realm must be very complicated. It was also very likely that it involved the entire Heaven Realm. She still had self-awareness. She knew that with her strength in the heaven realm, she wouldn't be able to make a big splash. Not to mention now, she who had lost her profound energy, that was under the condition of recovering profound strength. She also didn't want to cause any complicated disputes and battles in the heaven realm. It was too troublesome. It was also too dangerous. Yiqing Luo answered very decisively, without any hesitation. Second young master Run, you should go back. His footsteps had just stepped over the threshold. Chapter 43:19. This low growl successfully stopped Yiqing Luo's footsteps. She turned around and looked at Ren Jiaming. What do you mean? Half a month later, on the wind cloud list, someone will take action and invade the heaven realm. Ren Jiaming was still kneeling on the ground. His voice was filled with suppressed pain. Only by saving that person can heaven be saved. How did you know that there would be a calamity in the heaven realm? Yiqing Luo's gaze shot straight towards Ren Jiaming, containing some sharpness. Ren Jiaming pursed his lips. As for the reason, I cannot tell you right now. However, everything I have said is the truth. The heaven realm has been targeted by a mysterious force. The other party will use the opportunity of the wind cloud list to create chaos, for some unknown reason. The moment Ren Jiaming mentioned the mysterious force, Yiqing Luo's first reaction was to think of 3 words: dark, dark palace. Only the rats from the dark palace were hiding in the dark. That was why they were always looking for opportunities to create chaos. In the Nirvana realm, it was the same in the land. Now, was the other party eyeing the heaven realm? If the mysterious force that Ren Jiaming was talking about was really the Palace of Darkness, this step-by-step operation, the true goal of the Palace of Gloomy Darkness was to control the 3 realms. How ambitious! No, that's not right. If the power of the secluded Darkness Palace had already infiltrated into the heaven realm, that, with how stubborn the Palace of Gloomy Shadows was towards her, after learning of her existence, the Palace of Gloomy Darkness should have come looking for them, especially now, when she didn't even have the strength to truss a chicken. However, she had been wandering in the heaven realm for half a month. He did not see any traces of the Dark Abyss Palace. Eldest young miss, even if it's not for the heaven realm, you wouldn't be willing to see the Gu residence fall, right? Seeing Yiqing Luo not speaking for a long time, Ren Jiaming started to play the emotional card. To tell the truth, I really don't care if the bone residence falls or not. Yiqing Luo crossed her arms as she walked back into the room. She returned to her seat and sat down. Who is the person you want me to save? Why do you say that only by saving that person can the heaven realm be saved? She had to confirm it first. Was that mysterious force on the side of the Dark Palace? Seeing Yiqing Luo walking back and returning to her seat, Ren Jianming's face revealed an excited smile. But when he heard Yiqing Luo's question, his smile slowly froze. His expression was somewhat complicated. Yiqing Luo could tell that he was conflicted. He wanted her to save that man, but subconsciously, he couldn't believe her. Yiqing Luo wasn't in a hurry to interrogate him. You want me to save someone, but you want me to not even know who I want to save. The expression on Ren Jianming's face changed slightly. He clenched his fists again, struggling internally. After some time, as though he had finally made up his mind, he abruptly raised his head and looked at Yiqing Luo, saying word by word, I hope that the person you save is... Miss Ren, young Master Ren is here. Suddenly, a servant's voice came from outside. Miss Ren? Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes. Ren Jianying, why was she here? Just as Ren Jianying was guided by the servants, they arrived at the room which Yiqing Luo was in. Ren Jianming, who was kneeling on the ground, moved, and in a blink of an eye, he sat on the seat opposite Yiqing Luo. The expression on his face was no longer solemn and serious, but there was a sliver of what he thought to be elegant and suave, an incomparably confident smile. His entire imposing manner became extremely relaxed. Chapter 43:20. Ren Jianying had already walked in. Her gaze fell onto Ren Jiaming. Her penetrating gaze swept past Yi Qing Luo and Ren Jiaming, as though she was trying to confirm something. Elder sister, why are you here? Ren Jiaming stood up as his face was filled with disdain. Ren Jiaming slowly walked towards him as her beautiful face revealed a hint of coldness. Jiaming, have you caused enough trouble these few days? Ren Jiaming pushed away Ren Jianing's hand with a mischievous look and bypassed her. What trouble did I cause? You're the second young master of the Ren family, following behind a woman all day long. Where's your sense of propriety? Ren Jianing intentionally shot a glance towards Yi Qing Luo's direction as she spoke. That gaze seemed to be saying that Yi Qing Luo was a femme fatale. Ren Jiaming's expression sunk instantly. His tall body blocked in front of Yi Qing Luo, blocking Ren Jianing's gaze. He revealed an unhappy expression. Elder sister, eldest miss is my fiancée. I like eldest miss. Don't always go against her. What fiancé? Nothing has even been decided yet. Ren Jianing sneered and continued in a resentful tone. In the entire old city, there are countless women who want to marry you. Why do you need to be so persistent with a woman who doesn't even put you in her heart? Those people are not eldest Mississippi. Ren Jiaming stubbornly raised his chin. I only want eldest miss. You. Ren Jianing was slightly flustered as she flicked her sleeves and retreated away from Ren Jiaming. Good. Now I can't control you anymore. All right, if you want to be with this woman, then don't go back to the Ren family. Elder sister. Ren Jiaming was flustered. Since young, you've always liked to control me. Now, even if I like someone, you want to control me too? Ren Jianing's expression was cold, as she didn't have any intention of being moved. This woman isn't suitable for you. Either follow me back to the Ren family, or you can live with this woman. I want to see, after losing the identity of the Ren family's second young master, if she will still allow you to pester her. Big sister, why? Why do you have to force me? Ren Jiaming was so angry that his whole body was trembling. His face was livid, and his eyes were red. It was as if the emotions that had been suppressed for a long time were on the verge of exploding at this moment. He looked like a rebellious child who was being forced by his elders. Ren Jianing's expression did not change. She looked at Ren Jiaming quietly with her beautiful eyes. There seemed to be no room for discussion. Ren Jiaming pursed his lips tightly, and his eyes were red. He glared at Ren Jianing with resentment and unwillingness, unwilling to compromise. The siblings seemed to be at loggerheads. No one was willing to be the first to speak and take half a step back. Yi Qing Luo's gaze wandered between the two of them for a moment. Her crimson lips curled up slightly. Miss Ren's desire to control her own brother is really strong. Could it be that my joke that day is really true? Miss Ren wants to marry your own brother, so you're doing everything possible to control him so that he only belongs to you? She paused and covered her mouth in surprise. She looked Ren Jianing up and down in shock. I didn't expect Miss Ren to be such a person. You're so scary. Oh, your ghost. Ren Jianing was so infuriated by Yi Qing Luo's shocking words that her expression changed. Chapter 43:21. Yi Qing Luo's brows rose. Trample? Young Miss Ren, I don't like what you're saying. Yi Qing Luo slowly stood up. The red flowing cloud-long dress followed her movements and fluttered like a dancing butterfly's wings. I didn't cheat him of his feelings, nor his looks. Eldest Miss Ren, where did you see me trampling on him? As she stood up, his aura started to spread out. When she spoke, her long and narrow eyes were like poppies blooming, emitting a suffocating charm. Ren Jianing's heart tightened. The expression on his face was constantly changing. I gave you a chance. Ren Jianing gritted her teeth. It's you who rejected to be with Jianming. Since you rejected, why not be more straightforward? Yi Qing Luo sneered. Don't you know how clingy your brother is? Ren Jianing turned cold. Eldest miss of the Gu family, it's not your turn to interfere in our Ren family's matters. Saying that, she turned around and fixed her gaze on Ren Jianming. Ren Jiaming, you're the pride of the Ren family, the future successor of the Ren family. I only ask you one thing. Are you coming back to the Ren family with me? Eldest sister. Ren Jiaming's face flushed red, as though the two ladies' conversation had caused all the anger he had suppressed in his heart to burst out. I don't want to be the successor of the Ren family. I don't want to be the pride of the Ren family. If I can't even choose the girl I like as the second young master of the Ren family, then what's the use of this identity? I will let you see my determination. As long as you don't accept eldest miss, I will not return to the Ren family. Ren Jiaming's every word sounded like a hysterical roar and a venting of anger. His fists were clenched tightly. The veins on the back of his hands and joints were popping out. Ren Jiaming. Ren Jining didn't expect Ren Jiaming to suddenly explode. That exquisite and beautiful face revealed an unbelievable anger. You're going to give up everything in the Ren family for this woman? You forced me to do this. Ren Jiaming's chest heaved. Good. Ren Jining seemed to be very angry. Her face was pale, and she pointed at Ren Jiaming with a trembling finger. I'd like to see if a woman like you will still want you after losing the protection of the Ren family. Her gaze turned towards Yi Qing Luo venomously. Eldest young miss of the Gu residence is really capable. His words fell. She flicked her sleeves and strode towards the door. When she reached the door, she stopped but did not turn around. A sinister voice entered their ears. Ren Jiaming, you will regret this. This continued until Ren Jianing's aura completely disappeared from the Bone residence. Ren Jiaming, whose emotions were tense, face flushed, and eyes bloodshot, slumped into the chair as if he had collapsed. Yiqing Luo strolled over and raised her slender brows as she looked at him with a smile, which didn't look like a smile. Now that you're not the second young master of the Ren family, what are you going to use to convince me to help you? This princess was chased out of the house because of you. Ren Jiaming rubbed his face to make his expression revert back to normal. If eldest miss doesn't take me in, then I'll really be a homeless child. Because of me? Chapter 43:22. Ren Jiaming grabbed a teacup and poured himself a cup of tea to drink. After moistening his throat, he said, You've seen through me again? It seems like I can't hide anything from you. He straightened his face and placed both hands on the table as he looked at Yiqing Luo solemnly. I indeed want to leave the Ren family. Yiqing Luo used her slender fingers to caress her chin, as though she had seen through everything. Looks like the person you're really guarding against is your eldest sister. Ren Jiaming's hedonistic look was obviously intentionally displayed in front of Ren Jianing. Thank you for not exposing me earlier. Ren Jiaming took a deep breath. If I go back with her this time, I'm afraid I won't have the chance to leave the Ren family anymore. Yiqing Luo asked, Ren Jianing wants the inheritance rights? She thought back to the news that Guyun had mentioned to her about the Ren family. The current Ren family's power holder was actually Ren Jianing. Obviously, there was a talented successor like Ren Jiaming around, but the power holder was still Ren Jianing. What are you afraid of? Yiqing Luo asked again. This was the only explanation. If it wasn't for fear, based on Ren Jiaming's reputation and the legitimate Ren family's bloodline, it shouldn't be Ren Jianing's turn to make the decision. But Ren Jiaming had to pretend to be a hedonistic in front of Ren Jianing and had no interest in power, only wanted to lead a befuddled life, wandering around. This was obviously to hide from Ren Jianing. Hearing Yiqing Luo's question, Ren Jiaming lowered his head and didn't reply. The expression on his face was unprecedentedly grave and solemn. In his heart, he was in a dilemma, hesitating whether to tell Yiqing Luo everything. After a long time, his fingers clenched tightly. That hand, which was dyed black from the poison, also felt a sharp pain because of this action. He pursed his lips and tightened his grip, as though he had made the final decision. He raised his head and looked at Yiqing Luo without blinking. Yes, I'm afraid of her. Do you still remember what I said earlier? There will be a huge calamity in the heaven realm in half a month's time? The expression on Yi-Ching Luo's face was filled with a deep sense of ridicule. Surely you're not saying that. This matter has something to do with Ren Jianying? Yes. Ren Jianying was already used to Yi-Ching Luo's ability to see through one's heart. He continued, I've been by your side all this time, which has aroused her suspicions. Just now, she came to test me. Of course, there's another motive. It's almost time for the excellence list. She wants to trap me in the Ren family to prevent me from disrupting her plans. Yi-Ching Luo's fingers touched her chin. The mysterious force you mentioned. Is it your eldest sister? No. Ren Jianying looked up. Big sister has cooperated with that mysterious force. Their goal is to rebuild a realm that belongs to her, Ren Jianying, after destroying Heaven Realm. She wanted to become the one and only ruler of the Heaven Realm. How did you know? I accidentally overheard it. If that mysterious force is really as powerful as you said and can destroy Heaven Realm, how could you not detect it when you were eavesdropping? Yi-Ching Luo expressed her doubts. Ren Jianying's face turned slightly red. At that time, Big Sister was in the room with that force's representative doing that kind of thing, so she didn't notice me. Looking at Ren Jianying's expression, she knew. Chapter 43-23. Yi-Ching Luo connected everything that Ren Jianying said into a line. She crossed her arms and leaned back against the table, tilting her head to look at him. How do you prove what you said? Ren Jianying suddenly raised his head and coincidentally met with the young lady's smiling eyes. His heart inexplicably skipped a beat. When he opened his mouth to speak, his voice unconsciously stuttered. What I said is all true. I now want to beg you, don't dare to lie. Yi-Ching Luo slowly lowered her body. Somewhat condescending aura. Ren Jianying only felt his heart getting more and more nervous. In his eyes, the young girl's alluring and beautiful face was reflected. All of a sudden, he seemed to be startled. He stood up abruptly, avoiding eye contact with Yi-Ching Luo. He held the back of the chair and quickly turned around, with his back facing Yi-Ching Luo. Since I was 5 years old, I discovered that eldest sister is very strange. Yi-Ching Luo pulled a chair over and sat down. I was 5 years old. She was only 7 years old. But she seemed to know a lot of things that even father didn't know. In front of the elders, she appeared to be very obedient, but behind the scenes, she was using another identity, secretly developing her own power. She seemed to be a natural-born businesswoman, able to grasp any business opportunities like she could predict the future. In just a few years, she had already controlled the entire old city, and even half of the main city's trade routes in Heaven Realm. Then, when she was 14 years old, she stretched her hands to the Ren family. She was able to accurately know the internal affairs of the various large families and took precautions in advance. She also knew the secrets of the Ren family's various elders and could accurately catch all those who had ill intentions towards the Ren family. Step by step, she controlled the Ren family's lifeline and became the person behind the Ren family. Now, her target has already set the entire Heaven Realm. Speaking of this, Ren Jianying's body trembled slightly. The fingers on the back of the chair almost scratched the back of the chair. He suddenly turned around. A trace of madness flashed in his eyes. Eldest miss, do you think? My eldest sister has the ability to predict the future. Only with foresight could Ren Jianying advance step by step and reach her current position. Otherwise, Ren Jianying wouldn't be able to understand. How on earth did Ren Jianying manage to take the most appropriate precautions every time an incident happened? Foresight? I'm afraid not. Yi-Ching Luo touched her pink lips with interest. What is that? Ren Jianying asked anxiously. Yi-Ching Luo didn't reply, but instead her lips curled into an arc as she retorted with a question. When did you start to conceal your true thoughts? From when I was 8 years old. Ren Jianying's eyes darkened. I saw with my own eyes, when she was only 10 years old, she killed her uncle because he rejected her proposal. Children of their birth. Compared to other children, he matured much earlier. From a young age, they would accept the lifestyle of a large family. From then on, Ren Jiaming knew it. He was extremely talented. He was appointed as the successor of the Ren family. One day, he would become a stepping stone for his elder sister. Therefore, he began to learn how to disguise himself. He began to befriend a bunch of scoundrels and turn himself into a man of luxury. Chapter 43:24. He had successfully molded himself into a hedonistic son of a rich family, and successfully numbed Ren Jianying. From then onwards, Ren Jianying's attitude towards him was obviously different. Ren Jianying no longer looked at him coldly. It was no longer directed at him, but she really treated him like a younger brother and doted on him. But this kind of doting was established in another way. Ren Jianying was using her own way to condone his misdeeds, suppressing all the protesting voices in the family. She allowed him to completely ruin her reputation. Then, as a good sister, she came forward to clean up the mess. Later on, the entire old city knew about it. There was a little overlord in the Ren family, a genius overlord, except for those scoundrel friends of his. Everyone who saw his appearance would avoid him with a headache, not willing to have any interaction with him. Speaking of this, Ren Jiaming's body started to tremble slightly. He shut his eyes tightly, suppressing all the emotions in his heart. Finally, he opened his eyes and looked at Yiqing Luo with a resolute gaze. "Eldest Miss, I really hope. You can help me, help the Ren family, help Heaven Realm." Yiqing Luo turned her head. Her expression was indifferent. "I don't have that ability. Save him. As long as he wakes up, he will definitely be able to control eldest sister." Ren Jiaming clenched his fists tightly. His tone was filled with unwavering determination. If you really can't save him, it's all right. At least we have tried. I will consider it." Yiqing Luo straightened her body and smiled slightly. "Since you have left the Ren family, then stay in the Gu residence." Ren Jiaming's eyes suddenly lit up. Let him stay. Did that mean that she had already relented? She would help. He couldn't hide the excitement on his face. His eyes were fixated on the young lady's gorgeous face, looking at the smile on the young lady's lips. His lips uncontrollably curled upwards. He hadn't had time to express his gratitude and touched. Yiqing Luo looked at the door and raised her voice. "Guyun." Guyun quickly walked in. When she saw Ren Jiaming, she stared at him in disgust. "Arrange a guest room for second young Master Ren. He will be staying here for a period of time," Yiqing Luo instructed. Guyun Miao was stunned and her eyes widened. "Eldest Miss, you let this hedonistic son live in the Gu residence. Didn't First Mistress say yesterday that she had made things clear with second young Master Ren and that they would never see each other again? Today it had developed into, were they going to live together? The First Miss actually agreed to live under the same roof as the playboy. Was Eldest Miss deceived? Countless thoughts flashed through Guyun's mind. Yiqing Luo poked her head. "What nonsense are you thinking about? I was just being kind, seeing that he was homeless. I took him in for a few days." Guyun looked at Ren Jiaming with a vigilant expression. "Eldest Miss, that kind of hedonistic playboy is the most scheming. Don't be fooled by him." Yiqing Luo seemed to have smelled something important as a trace of ridicule surfaced in her eyes. She suddenly stretched out her hand and circled it around Guyun's neck. She lowered her voice and moved closer to Guyun's ear as she laughed softly. "Little Yun, don't tell me. You've been cheated by him?" Guyun's face flushed red in an instant. "I didn't. How could I possibly be cheated by a hedonistic playboy? I'm worried about you." His negative tone sounded like he was full of energy, but that flushed red face. Chapter 43:25. No wonder every time Guyun saw Ren Jiaming, she would have that expression. "All right, be good. Now he needs my help. He won't dare to lie to you." Yiqing Luo rubbed Guyun's head. Guyun pursed her lips and stared fiercely at Ren Jiaming. "Let's go, I'll bring you over." Ren Jiaming didn't hear the whispers between the two. Hearing Gu Yun shout, he then reacted. He hurriedly walked to Gu Yun's side. Just as he was about to leave with Gu Yun, he suddenly stopped in his tracks and looked at Yi Qing Luo solemnly. "Eldest young miss, thank you." Yi Qing Luo curled her lips at him as she casually waved her hand. Ren Jiaming wanted to say something, but Gu Yun tugged at him. "Are you leaving or not?" Ren Jiaming touched his nose as he leaned forward and put his head in front of Gu Yun. "I say, little lass, why are you so hostile towards me?" Gu Yun was startled by the sudden appearance of a head and took 2 steps back. After her gaze fell onto Ren Jiaming's face, her eyes flickered for a moment. Immediately, she pursed her lips. "I don't dare." "How don't you dare?" "I think you're very daring." Ren Jiaming didn't have the intention to let her off as he followed behind her and asked, "How did I provoke you? Quickly tell me." Their voices gradually got further away. Yi Qing Luo leaned against the table and stood for a while before walking out of the main door. Her mind kept repeating those words that Ren Jiaming said. Everything was strung together. Towards Ren Jiaming's words, she already believed half of it. After all, Ren Jiaming had no need to lie to her about such things. That person that Ren Jiaming mentioned, the only person who could stop Ren Jiaming, the person who needed her to save, who was it? She was getting more and more curious. "You really want to agree to help him?" Qi Yin drilled in from the window, fluttered his wings, and landed into Yi Qing Luo's arms. Yi Qing Luo lowered her head and met Qi Yan's eyes. "You don't want me to help him? This sacred beast doesn't like him at all." Qi Yin snorted. "The way he looks at you is extremely disgusting." Speaking of this, Red Flame seemed a little awkward. His little body squirmed a few times in her arms. Only then did he raise his chin up high. With an arrogant look, he said, "As one of the 4 great heavenly clans of the Heaven Realm, the Ren clan is too complicated. If you were to interfere, you would definitely not be able to leave in a short period of time. Furthermore, you would attract a lot of trouble." After saying that, he probably felt that his words seemed to be overly worried about Yi Qing Luo. He then added, "This holy beast is not concerned about you. This holy beast only feels that you're a good-for-nothing now. If you cause a lot of trouble, in the end, I'll be the one to clean up the mess." Listening to the little fellow's tsundere words, Yi Qing Luo couldn't help but laughed as her slender fingers tapped on its little head. "I might not agree to help him. I need to ascertain if that mysterious powerhouse, the powerhouse which Ren Jiaming is working with, is related to the secluded palace." Qi Yan's red eyes turned. "Then, what if it's really related to the Palace of Darkness?" Yi Qing Luo pondered for a moment. "Then we can only choose to intervene. Of course, I have to destroy the Palace of Darkness. Most importantly, if the other party was really the Palace of Darkness, the other party might not let her off so easily." Chapter 43:26. "Hey," Qi Yin stared at her. "Do you know what you're saying or not? Based on your current situation, you'll die before you even reach secluded palace." Yi Qing Luo propped Qi Yin up and placed him next to her as she smiled. "Are you concerned about me?" Qi Yan's little wings moved as his little head turned unconsciously, not looking into Yi Qing Luo's eyes. Following that, he gave an imposing harumph. "This sacred beast doesn't care about you. This sacred beast is only worried that you're dead. This sacred beast has even signed a contract with you." Looking at this little fellow's stubborn look, the smile in Yi Qing Luo's eyes deepened. She rubbed Qi Yan's head hard. "Don't worry, I'm not an idiot. Why would I risk my life?" She put down Qi Yin, and the expression on her face became extremely gentle. I'm no longer alone. I'm shouldering so many people's hopes. How could I possibly let myself fall?" She still needed to return to Xian's side alive. She still needed to live and reunite with her brothers in the world group. How could she bear to mess around? Qi Yin stared blankly at Yi Qing Luo's gentle face as his red eyes blinked. After some time, he turned his head away arrogantly as he gave a soft harumph. You know your limits. This sacred beast doesn't want Master to die so quickly. Yi Qing Luo. Couldn't he say something more auspicious? The following days, Ren Jiaming stayed in the Gu residence without any psychological burden. Moreover, he stayed in a natural and casual manner. And Ren Jiaming wanted to put on a good show. Plus, he pestered Yi Qing Luo to agree to his request. Ren Jiaming seemed to be sticking to Yi Qing Luo's side, except at night. Initially, Gu Yi sensed that there were Ren family spies circling around the Gu residence. Yi Qing Luo made Gu Yi pretend not to have discovered anything. Ren family spies observed for 2 days. They saw Ren Jiaming sticking to Yi Qing Luo all the time, going in and out together. He was thrown out of the courtyard by Yi Qing Luo several times. Those spies then retreated. But Ren Jiaming didn't let his guard down because of this. Because the enemy he was facing wasn't anyone else. Instead, it was his only elder sister, who shared the same father and mother, the closest bloodline to him, and who had the ability to foresee. Lin Quibble. Yi Qing Luo had asked Gu Yun to secretly investigate some of the Ren family secrets. He was also investigating whether or not there was any aura from the Dark Nether Palace in the Old City. As long as the Palace of Gloomy Darkness came, there would definitely be some clues left behind. Just like that, another 3 days passed. There were only 10 days left before the opening of the Excellence list. Ren Jiaming became more anxious. The closer it was to the ranking list, this meant that danger was about to descend. He increased the speed, urging Yi Qing Luo to save him. After being harassed for an entire day, Yi Qing Luo's ears were about to grow calluses, so she directly asked Gu Yi to throw him out. The second time, Yi Qing Luo really didn't see Ren Jiaming at all. After being pestered for several days, Yi Qing Luo was still not used to it. Until she finished her breakfast, Ren Jiaming was nowhere to be seen. When did Ren Jiaming become so obedient? Did he change his personality? With Ren Jiaming's personality, he wouldn't listen so easily, right? Yi Qing Luo suddenly thought of something as her expression congealed. She suddenly stood up. Gu Yun, why didn't Ren Jiaming come over today? Chapter 43:27. He left the residence in a hurry early in the morning. When I asked him where he was going, he didn't say. Gu Yun continued. Left the residence in a hurry? Yi Qing Luo's eyes narrowed as a deep meaning flashed past her eyes. I'm going out for a while. Eldest young miss, are you going to look for Master Ren? Gu Yun frowned. I know, I shouldn't interfere with Master's thoughts, but I still have to say, the Ren family's relationship is too complicated. Now that Bone Lord is not in the residence, we shouldn't have any conflict with the Ren family. She paused as her hands clenched tightly. Eldest young miss, I'm worried. Worried that you and Master Ren are too close and met with the Ren family. Gu Yun had been helping her to investigate the Ren family's matters recently. Towards Ren Jianying's ambition, she naturally could tell. Ren Jianying wanted the Ren family. The biggest thorn in her side was Ren Jiaming. Ren Jianying would definitely deal with Ren Jiaming. Yi Qing Luo patted Gu Yun's shoulder. I know what you mean, don't worry. I assure you, Ren Jianying currently absolutely won't dare to touch me. If Ren Jianying wanted to start a war during the ranking list, she would absolutely not cause any trouble at this juncture. If she really touched her, that would be touching the Gu residents. The Gu residents naturally wouldn't let the Ren family off so easily. How would Ren Jianying allow such a thing to happen? Eldest young miss. Gu Yun was very clear that she couldn't persuade eldest young miss as she helplessly sighed. Then bring a few more secret guards to protect you in the dark. Gu Yi is enough. Yi Qing Luo shook her head. After walking out of the Gu residence, Yi Qing Luo's first goal was to head towards the Ren family. To make Ren Jiaming leave the Gu residence in a hurry early in the morning. Only the Ren family's matters could make him like this. Ren Jiaming might have returned to the Ren family. Before she could confirm whether Ren Jianing's collaboration was with the secluded Darkness Palace. This Ren Jiaming couldn't be allowed to return to the Ren family. Just as she walked to the small alley near the Ren family, she heard a fighting sound coming from the small alley. Bang, bang, bang. The sounds of collisions were extremely clear in this alley. Yiqing Luo took a look. At the end of the alley, about a dozen people formed a circle and were punching and kicking the person on the ground. These people did not release any profound strength. It was a real hand-to-hand fight. No, it should be called a real beating, because the people who were trapped on the ground couldn't resist at all. Yiqing Luo only took a glance. He walked straight into the alley. Ha ha! Aren't you the high and mighty second young master of the Ren family? Why are you so cowardly? Stand up. Aren't you usually very arrogant? Didn't you step on me and say that I'm just a piece of trash who licks your shoes? What? Now you want to lick my shoes? Second young master of the Ren clan. How can the dignified second young master of the Ren clan be so pitiful? Ha! Second young master Ren, who has been chased out of the Ren clan. What else can he do? Their arrogant words were full of ridicule. While laughing and scolding, he also used his legs to kick and hit hard. Ren family. Second young master? Ren Jiaming? Those people scolding successfully stopped Yiqing Luo's footsteps. She stopped beside the 10 over people and looked at the person who was surrounded in the middle. Little beauty, what are you looking at? Don't be a busybody. If you hurt your pretty little face, the few of us will feel heartache. Chapter 43:28. The man who was surrounded by 10 over people suddenly stood up and knocked against those people with force. The person you want to target is me. Don't implicate the innocent. Those 10 over people were knocked back a few steps. The few of them held onto the places where they were knocked as the expressions on their faces turned extremely sinister. One of them strode over and grabbed that man's collar as he gave a heavy punch on that man's abdomen. Second young master Run. Who do you think you are now? You can't even take care of yourself, and you still want to take care of others? Innocent. Second young master Rin also knows how to use the word innocent. How did you treat us in the past? When you broke both my legs, didn't you think that I'm not innocent? Ha! Kneel on the ground like a dog and beg me. Beg me to spare you. Spare this innocent person. Ha ha! Ha ha ha! The group of people behind followed closely and rushed forward. They waved their fists and used their feet to kick. Earlier, when that man knocked against the crowd, it also allowed Yiqing Luo to clearly see the appearance of that man who was surrounded by 10 over people. Second young master Rin. Rin Jiaming. It was indeed him. Why was he surrounded and beaten up by such a group of people at the Rin family's doorstep? Based on Rin Jiaming's ability, even if he was no longer the Rin family's second young master, it shouldn't be a problem for him to deal with these people. Seeing those 10 over people, their fists and feet were all aimed towards Rin Jiaming. Yiqing Luo patted the little fellow in her arms lightly. Go. Qian flapped its wings as it shook its head hard, unwilling to go forward. Yiqing Luo poked its head. Be good, listen to me. At the same time, Rin Jiaming was punched and kicked by the 10 over men in front of him. The man standing right in front raised his leg and stepped on Rin Jiaming's chest. Yiqing Luo's eyes sunk as she speedily threw the qi yin in her hands toward the crowd. A ball of blazing red flashed past their eyes. The few of them didn't have time to react. Their bodies were flipped over by a huge force. A strong aura enveloped the surroundings. They fell heavily onto the ground. Those who were flipped over one after another crashed into each other. The piercingly cold air waves were like surging tides. More than a dozen people screamed and struggled to get up from the ground. Who are you? How dare you meddle in other people's business? More than a dozen people howled in pain as they glared angrily ahead. But just now, they saw that the beautiful girl who looked gentle like water, who did not have the slightest fluctuation of profound energy on her body, was looking at them with a smile. It's you, bitch. Bitch, you actually dare to attack us? Do you know who we are? Go. I'll deal with this bitch first. The anger of more than a dozen people rose slowly. Each and every one of them clenched their fists and released a powerful, profound wave pressure. However, when they pounced ferociously towards Yiqing Luo, it was blocked by a transparent barrier. It was like a sudden wave of qi had blocked all of their attacks. Before he even got close to Yiqing Luo, the powerful aura sent them flying again. Bang, bang, bang. The cries of pain and the sounds of collisions echoed in the alley. Large patches of red were reflected in the eyes of more than a dozen people. The entire alley had turned into a sea of fire, as though a fire dragon had opened its bloody mouth, spitting out large patches of flames, burning everything in the surroundings. More than a dozen people cried out in terror. Chapter 43:29. But like a fire dragon's flame, it bared its fangs and brandished its claws as it covered the entire alley. There was nowhere for them to escape. The scorching flame was burning their skin. Obviously, the flame was burning on them, but it didn't burn their clothes or hair. Only that scorching heat enveloped them like steaming buns, making their breathing became more and more difficult. While the fire dragon was surging, the 10 over people only saw a slender figure as she slowly walked over. The young lady's blazing red dress blended with the flame like a blooming poppy, releasing a fatal temptation. The young lady slowly walked in front of Ren Jiaming. Following her footsteps, the flame automatically opened up a path. She bent over slightly as she stretched out a hand towards Ren Jiaming. Can you still stand up? The man lying on the ground, covered in blood, opened his eyes in a hazy state. When he met that young lady's face, he grinned. It's you. Why are you here? Under the flame, that man's face was extremely pale, stained with turbid blood and dirt. Yiqing Luo patiently said, If you don't wish to get up, then I won't help you up. Saying that, she was about to withdraw her hand. Up, up, up. Ren Jiaming immediately got up as he wanted to grab that hand. But the moment he moved, the wounds on his body dragged him, as he couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. His body uncontrollably fell backwards. Yiqing Luo impatiently pursed her lips at the moment when the man fell. One hand grabbed his arm as she forcefully pulled him up. Really useless. I also feel that. I'm really useless. Ren Jiaming's body swayed as his lips twitched with a bitter smile. The smile on his face looked even uglier than crying. Return to the bone residence. Yiqing Luo rolled her eyes at him as she pulled him away. Behind her, those 10 over people's pleading voices were heard. Female hero. Female hero, please spare us. We're going to be burned to death. Sir, you're magnanimous. Please spare us this fire. Save us, save us. We're only following orders. Sorry, female hero. Sorry, second young master Ren. 10 over people in this raging fire didn't even have the energy to escape. Yiqing Luo halted her footsteps as she turned her head to look at those few people who were struggling in the fire. Following orders? Whose orders? The eldest daughter of the Ren family. It's the eldest daughter. Those people hurriedly replied, Eldest mistress wants to force second young master Ren to return to the Ren family. So she wants us to teach second young master Ren a lesson. Oh. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled slightly. It's Ren Jiaming. I understand now. With that, she turned around and left. We answered your questions, so you let us go. Let us go. The dozen or so people panicked. The feeling of being burned by fire was really unpleasant. Yiqing Luo laughed lightly. Her laughter was pleasing to the ear. What a pity. Since you've touched the person I'm looking for, you'll have to pay the price. She didn't even turn around. His footsteps did not slow down at all. He let the screams of the people behind him gradually fade into nothingness. A palm-sized red bird scuttled out from the flames and chased after Yiqing Luo. He couldn't help cursing. Bitch! How dare you treat this sacred beast like this? This sacred beast will never help you again. The flames were still burning. The dozen or so people in the flames had already lost all signs of life. Chapter 43:30. Indistinctly, two figures appeared on top of the wall. One of them was shrouded in a black cloak, revealing only a pair of sinister and treacherous eyes. One of them had an exquisite and beautiful face, with a dignified and steady look between her brows. "Miss Run, looks like your plan has deviated." The black cloak man's voice was extremely piercing, as though he had intentionally used profound energy to change his voice. The lady, who was Ren Jianying, had a solemn and cold expression. Her pair of solemn, beautiful eyes stared straight at the direction where Yiqing Luo and Run Jiaming had left, as she gave a cold laugh in a lukewarm tone. "I said before, I will make him beg me willingly to return to the Ren family." The black cloak man laughed sarcastically. "The higher-ups want me to remind you. That woman has interfered, so many of your plans had better be readjusted, otherwise. You might not even know how you lost. Is it that magical?" Ren Jianying's face was filled with disdain, as her eyes were filled with complacency and pride. The higher-ups, would they be afraid of a waste with no profound energy at all? Don't belittle her. The black cloak man hugged Ren Jianying's petite body. That pair of sinister eyes seemed to be dipped in poison, making one feel cold. "I'm just reminding you on account of our relationship. That woman is not easy to deal with. You'd better not belittle your own enemy." Ren Jianying, who was suddenly hugged, didn't have any change on her face. Instead, she leaned her petite body into the black cloak man's embrace. Then one hand encircled that person's neck, slightly tilting her eyes. That beautiful face revealed a seductive look. "Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. Once I've decided on something, no one can change it, no matter who it is." As she spoke, she slowly moved her fragrant lips towards his. The black cloak man suddenly locked her waist tightly, as he bent down and pressed the lady into his arms. Yiqing Luo dragged Run Jiaming as they left the Ren family's boundary. On the streets, there were people coming and going. Ren Jiaming's disheveled state made everyone cast their gazes over. Basically, the entire city's people, from 80-old people to 3-year-old children, were extremely familiar with Ren Jiaming's looks. Suddenly seeing Ren Jiaming in such a sorry state, it was as if he had been beaten up. Everyone couldn't help but speculate, especially when he saw Yiqing Luo's extremely rough action of dragging Ren Jiaming. One by one, the gazes which they shot towards Yiqing Luo were filled with different probing expressions. Could it be that the first miss of the Gu residence had beaten up second young master Ren? Otherwise, with the abilities of the Ren family's second young master, who else could do this to him? It could only be the first miss of the Gu residence that the Ren family's second young master was chasing after, right? However, isn't eldest young miss a little too heavy-handed? Ren Jiaming suddenly covered his face and wailed. This young master's reputation of a lifetime, all destroyed. Yiqing Luo felt uncomfortable being stared at by everyone. He heard Ren Jiaming's voice again. He slapped him on the head. "You still have the face to howl? Serves you right." Ren Jiaming cried out exaggeratedly. "I'm already in such a miserable state, and you still want to lay your hands on me. Don't you have any sympathy? Serves you right." Yiqing Luo gave a cold harumph. "Confess yourself, or do I torture you to extort a confession? Think about it carefully." Chapter 43:31. He remained silent for some time. He then pursed his lips tightly. "Anyway, sooner or later you will find out. I don't intend to hide it from you." Ren Jiaming patted Yiqing Luo's hand. Yiqing Luo moved her hand away. He tidied up his messy robe, which was stained with blood. That face, which was full of scars and dirt, looked grave. He was about to open his mouth. Suddenly, a basin of water poured down from above. Yiqing Luo's reaction was swift as she raised both her hands and pushed Ren Jiaming. She followed suit and evaded it. But that basin of water was still mostly poured onto Ren Jiaming. The smell of the water carried a nauseating stench. It mixed with the blood on Ren Jiaming's body. Sorry, second young master. We didn't do it on purpose. Two heads popped out from the second-floor window. They looked like 17 to 18-year-old youngsters. One of them was carrying a wooden bucket. Looking at the disheveled Ren Jiaming, they laughed loudly. The verbal apology didn't sound sincere at all. Instead, it seemed to be mocking something. Ren Jiaming raised his head as his eyes stared at the two of them. The two of them laughed arrogantly. Second young master is angry? If you're angry, then come and hit us to vent your anger. As the two of them spoke, they suddenly threw the wooden buckets onto Ren Jiaming. Following that, they leapt down from above. The wooden buckets landed. Ren Jiaming clenched his fists as he punched the two wooden buckets. But the wooden buckets crashed heavily onto Ren Jiaming, causing Ren Jiaming to fall onto the ground in a disheveled state. Look at you now like a drowning dog. Second young master, how can you be in such a disheveled state? Quickly stand up, just like in the past. If you're unhappy, you'll take action on us. The two of them laughed so hard that they couldn't stand straight, their faces filled with ridicule. Ren Jiaming fell onto the ground, his entire body tensed up. That tightly clenched fist, all the veins popped out. He didn't say a word. The two of them laughed till there was no meaning in it. They strode towards Ren Jiaming. Raising their feet, they kicked towards Ren Jiaming. Wait. The girl's clear and cold voice revealed an irresistible sense of oppression. A fiery red figure was already standing in front of Ren Jiaming. It also blocked the actions of the two youths. After the two youths saw who it was, the arrogance on their faces retracted slightly. Isn't this the first young miss of the Gu clan? I've heard that the first young miss of the Gu estate has always been pestered by second young master Ren, wishing that she could kick him out of the Gu estate. Why is she pleading for second young master Ren now? Could it be that, after being pestered by second young master Ren, eldest young mistress has fallen for him? The tone of the two men was extremely vulgar. The gaze he shot towards Yiqing Luo was filled with a sense of lasciviousness. Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes narrowed slightly. Who are you? Her tone was very calm, but if one looked closely, one could see that in the depths of the girl's half-squinted eyes, there was an extremely faint chill. The two youths exchanged glances and looked at Ren Jiaming, who was lying on the ground behind Yiqing Luo. They had no intention to conceal their identities. I'm Zhao family's third son, Zhao Quan once. I can be considered as second young master Ren's follower. I'm Li family's fourth son, Li Zhongtian, and second young master Ren's follower in the past. Zhao and Li family? Yiqing Luo recalled that the Zhao and Li family's representatives had gone over to the Gu estate, insisting that she give an explanation for that day when Princess Xiaoju's battle pet Xiong Batian had crushed the Zhao and Li cultivators to death. Chapter 43-32. She curled her lips and glanced at Ren Jianming with her long and narrow eyes. Then, she looked at them with a faint smile. So, you two little sidekicks are planning to become the master now. The young masters of the Zhao and Li families looked at each other, and their expressions changed slightly. First miss, the Ren family's second young master has already been removed from the Ren family, and his profound strength has been crippled, turning him into a cripple. Such a man isn't good enough for eldest miss. Zhao Quan glanced at Ren Jiaming. Even if you really like second young master Ren, I'm afraid Bone Lord won't agree to hand you over to a good-for-nothing. As expected, no wonder the second young master of the Ren clan had become a rat that everyone wanted to beat up. One by one, they found fault with him. If it wasn't arranged, she didn't believe it. Ren Jianning was really ruthless. Given the shameless things that Ren Jiaming had done in the past, as long as he was no longer the second young master of the Ren family, Ren Jiaming would definitely be punished. Those who had been hurt by Ren Jiaming would definitely come to seek revenge. Especially, Ren Jianning even crippled Ren Jiaming. The genius of the past had directly fallen to become trash. Wasn't this clearly letting Ren Jiaming lie flat and be trampled upon? Once a woman became ruthless, it was truly terrifying. Yiqing Luo clicked her tongue as she glanced sideways at Ren Jiaming, who was lying on the ground. How long more do you intend to lie there for? Ren Jiaming did not reply. His eyes were empty, and his expression was very indifferent. Yiqing Luo raised her leg and kicked him mercilessly. Why? Just because everyone thinks you're trash, do you really think you're trash? That kick was merciless. Ren Jiaming grunted, but still didn't move. Yiqing Luo's slender brows rose slightly as she moved her feet to the other side. Since you want to be a waste, then go ahead. Your life and death has nothing to do with me. With that, she turned around to leave. I didn't. Just as she turned around, Ren Jiaming's hoarse voice rang out. He propped himself up and slowly climbed up from the ground. He was trembling, and his battered and exhausted face was filled with pain. If you don't, then stand up. Don't be a coward. Yiqing Luo rolled her eyes at him. It's not like it's some insurmountable hurdle. Since this is your own choice, then stand upright and upright. Do you want to admit defeat now? Since that's the case, why don't you go back to the Ren family and be the second young master Ren? Isn't that better? Ren Jiaming's body tensed up. He clenched his fists tightly. He gritted his teeth and forced himself to stand up. His body swayed as he walked towards Yiqing Luo's direction. Eldest Miss. Zhao Quan suddenly opened his mouth. His expression clouded over for a moment. If Eldest Miss insists on not listening to our advice, then don't blame us for not knowing how to be tender to the fairer sex. Saying that, Zhao Quan and Li Zhongtian slowly walked towards Yiqing Luo. His steps were swift and fierce, and his expression was extremely gloomy. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled up frivolously as she looked at the both of them with a smile. I'm afraid the both of you still don't know my character. The person I want, no one can even think of snatching him from me. Her gaze slowly fell onto Ren Jiaming. What a coincidence, this lad is still of some use to me. Ren Jiaming's pupils suddenly constricted. He stared blankly at Yiqing Luo's pair of smiling, yet not smiling eyes. The young lady's words, in his ears, was like the most pleasant voice in the world. Chapter 43:33. His heart was beating wildly, uncontrollably, as though it was going to jump out from his throat. This kind of unfamiliar feeling made Ren Jiaming himself a little unused to it. He took a deep breath and steadied himself. He took another determined step towards Yiqing Luo. But then I'll have to offend you. Young Master Zhao and young Master Li sneered. Then they moved and shot out their dark force. Not knowing when, two long swords appeared in their hands as they directly slashed towards Yiqing Luo's face. Their actions were extremely swift and violent. They were certain that Yiqing Luo had no profound energy and was unable to avoid their attacks. Zhao Quan and Li Zhongtian. Ren Jiaming's eyes widened as he screamed their names. Whoever dares to touch her, I want you to pay with your life. Just you? Zhao Quan snorted in disdain. The long sword in the book waved out a sword wave, majestic and thick. That was totally taking her life. Ren Jiaming swiftly pounced forward, trying to help Yiqing Luo to block this move. But his current body speed was not comparable to an ordinary person. He heard a few bam 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 exploding sounds. The strong, profound wave set off thousands of huge waves. Layers and layers of it lingered in the sky. It also enveloped everything in front. Ren Jiaming's heart seemed to be pierced by something fiercely. Even his breathing seemed to have stopped. No, impossible. Eldest young miss was such a powerful person. She could even block Princess Xia Zhu's attack. How could she be defeated by trash like Zhao Quan and Li Zhongtian so easily? The Zhao and Li young masters are really daring, even daring to kill eldest young miss of the Gu residence. If Bone Lord returns, will these young masters of the Zhao and Li family still be alive? Don't forget, a few days ago, eldest young miss of the Gu residence, and Princess Xiaoju's battle pet. Princess Xiaoju's battle pet crushed the Zhao and Li family's people to death. The Zhao and Li family are suppressing their hatred. Regarding this matter, we can only blame eldest young miss of the Gu residence for being too arrogant. She's obviously a trash, but she still went around creating trouble. This is exactly the same as second young master Ren. The two of them are really a match made in heaven. The surrounding cultivators couldn't help but mumble when they saw this scene. Many people were still staring in the direction of the surging profound waves. Soon, the profound waves gradually dispersed. The indistinct silhouette caused everyone to freeze on the spot. In front of him, a black figure stood in front of the girl. A hand was placed on Zhao Quan and Li Zhongtian's arms. Both of their attacks were stopped. Immediately after, the black figure's body erupted with a thick Xian wave. There were a few cracking sounds. The bones in their wrists were broken, and they were thrown out. When the crowd saw the black figure clearly, they were shocked. Someone exclaimed, It's the secret guards of the Gu residence. Yes, standing in front of Yiqing Luo, blocking all the attacks, was Gu Yi. His expression was solemn as he stood there, emitting a powerful, profound glow from his entire body, protecting Yiqing Luo behind his back. Zhao and Li Zhongtian's arms were broken as they rolled on the ground in pain. Yiqing Luo's lips curled into an extremely faint smile as she slowly walked out from Gu Yi's back. Everyone can see clearly that you were the ones who tried to kill me first. So, even if I kill you, if the Zhao and Li family pursue this matter, it would merely be my legitimate self-defense. Yiqing Luo's expression changed slightly. Chapter 43-34. Li Zhongtian widened his eyes in horror. Eldest young miss, are you sure you want to offend so many people just for a waste who has been removed from the Ren family? Zhao Quan hurriedly continued. I think with eldest young miss's intelligence, you must understand that all these are eldest young miss Ren's intention. If eldest young miss is willing to give in and save second young master Ren, eldest young Miss Ren will definitely be grateful to you. His tone was both threatening and seductive. Yiqing Luo heard that, and her slender fingers hooked a lock of her hair as she gave a sarcastic smile. Really? What if I'm not willing? What does eldest young Miss Ren want to do to me? Zhao Quan's face instantly darkened. His voice was also filled with ruthlessness. Eldest young miss, the reason why we call you eldest young miss is because of the Gu residence. Now that Bone Lord is not in the heaven realm and the Emperor is far away, if we really want to do anything to you, are you sure that just a few secret guards will be able to protect you? Yiqing Luo tilted her head as she blinked her eyes, looking extremely cute. I'm also quite curious if they could protect me. Why not give it a try? Zhao Quan suddenly slammed the ground as he stood up from the ground. His facial features were all twisted into a ball. Eldest young miss is indeed a member of the Gu residence. This young master admires your boldness. Since eldest young miss wants to try, this young master will satisfy you. I'd like to know how many things Bone Lord gave you to protect your life. Li Zhongtian sneered as he clapped his hands. In an instant, about 30 guards dressed in martial attire appeared from all directions. In an instant, they blocked Yiqing Luo and Run Jianming in the middle. Yiqing Luo cried out and poked Gu Yi's back. How is it, based on your ability, these people won't be a problem, right? Gu Yi didn't want to speak. What did this eldest young miss treat him as? Even if he was the former captain of the secret guards, his ability was the strongest among the secret guards. But that didn't mean that he was invulnerable, impervious to fire and water, right? The other party was obviously well prepared. Those people were definitely not ordinary people. Still no problem. He was ridiculing in his heart. But Gu Yi's face was still expressionless as he looked at Yiqing Luo. I will risk my life to protect eldest young Mississippi. Tisk. There's no way to deal with it. Yiqing Luo sighed as she shook her head with a look of pity. Bone 1. Zhao Quan and Li Zhongtian naturally heard the conversation between the two of them. The two of them burst into laughter at the same time. Are you afraid now? Eldest Miss, you should know that in the heaven realm, other than Bone Lord, you have no one to rely on. Offending young Miss Run won't do you any good. If you know fear, if you go and plead with young Miss Wren, perhaps young Miss Ron will let you go. Really? Suddenly, a familiar voice sounded from outside the crowd. Soon, a group of people passed through the crowd and walked toward them. The onlookers, under the pressure of this group of people, unconsciously made way for them. Walking in the front was a man and a woman. Behind them were 10 men dressed in white, each of them tall and burly, imposing. Yiqing Luo's line of sight immediately fell onto that man and woman. The expression on her face revealed 8J part shock and J part joy. Bam! A burst of profound waves surged. Those guards who were surrounding Yiqing Luo were all overturned by an invisible force. Chapter 43-35. Cooperative Relationship. So she could move around freely in this Ling Long Palace? Yiqing Luo, the Palace Lord of Seclusion Palace, gazed deeply at her face as his voice sounded a little hoarse. The current him was no longer in DMO Shin's appearance. That voice carried a layer of heavy, like a machine, as it blurred his original voice. It sounded extremely strange. What's the matter? Yiqing Luo asked coldly. I'm sorry. He sighed softly as he apologized helplessly. I didn't know that because of me, it would cause you to fall into this impasse. Yiqing Luo scoffed lightly, as her eyes were filled with ridicule. Didn't know? Palace Lord of Seclusion Palace. What on earth are you trying to express? She tilted her head as she gave a teasing smile. Could it be that the Palace Lord of Seclusion Palace really likes me? After scheming against me in secret, you ran over to explain in various ways. I don't know. I didn't do it on purpose. I really don't know anything. Palace Lord of Seclusion Palace, did I foolishly believe you and feel that you're very innocent? The Palace Lord of Seclusion Palace suddenly raised his head as the eyes under the black robe fell onto her. What did he want to say? But he didn't know how to explain. This matter, I really don't know anything. The words that I said to you are from my heart. The Palace Lord of Seclusion Palace finally said helplessly. Pausing for a moment, he lowered his head as his voice became repressed. No matter if you believe me or not, I still want to explain to you clearly. But this matter, although it wasn't my original intention, but the matter is indeed. Because of me, you were brought to Ling Long Palace, indeed. It's my fault. I'm sorry. The Palace Lord of Seclusion Palace's eyes under the black robe shut tightly. He wasn't willing to look at that young lady's gaze, which was filled with ridicule. He really didn't expect this. How could things be so coincidental? So coincidental that everything seemed as though it had long been arranged. Chapter 43-36. Huang Fusheng went up and gave him a gentle hug. Thank you. If it wasn't for Yiqing Luo, right now, he was probably still a cowardly Pei Sheng who was holed up in the Earth Realm. Perhaps, because of the auction house being forcefully taken back, he would choose the same ending as his father, to commit suicide. He wouldn't be like now, standing in the Heaven Realm's territory. He wouldn't pluck up the courage to admit his feelings for Guzishi. The one he was most grateful for, the one he sincerely wanted to thank, was Yiqing Luo. The young lady smiled like a flower as she raised her head. Her brows were filled with a gentleness which belonged to her friends. No need to tell me. The one you should be most grateful to is Zishi. The three of them smiled at each other. The surrounding people were completely dumbfounded when they saw this scene. Huangfu family and eldest miss of Gu residents were old acquaintances. From the way they interacted, it was obvious that they had a close relationship. When had they ever seen such a gentle smile on eldest miss of Gu residence's face? The crowd instantly looked at the Zhao and Li family's young masters with sympathetic gazes. This was like kicking an iron bench. Ren family was one of the 4 heavenly families. This Huangfu family was also one of the 4 heavenly families. No one was worse than the other. The Ren family would absolutely not cause any conflict with the Huangfu family because of the Zhao and Li family. It could be said, the Zhao and Li family's actions today was to curry favor with others. It was totally looking for death. Young Master Huangfu, young Master Huangfu, spare me, spare me. Zhao Quan was the first to react as he dragged his body, which was covered in blood, and crawled towards Huangfu Sheng's direction. Li Zhongtian also crawled over hurriedly. Young Master Huangfu, we were only entrusted by someone. We had no other choice. Zhao Quan immediately kowtowed towards Yi Qing Luo. Eldest miss, you're a magnanimous person. Please forgive our rudeness earlier. We only wanted to teach second young master Ren a lesson. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled as she smiled sweetly. Entrusted by someone? Don't tell me that you didn't want to become the master from a follower. So you intentionally sought revenge on Ren Jiaming? No, no. Li Zhongtian immediately opened his mouth. Second young master Ren has treated us well, and we have always been following second young master Ren. How could we have any personal grudges? We were all forced. Force? You're the young masters of the Zhao and Li family. Who dares to force you? Yi Qing Luo rubbed her chin as she glanced sideways at Ren Jiaming's direction. Do you think we were forced? Ren Jiaming wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. He moved his body and wobbled a little. However, that pair of sinister eyes was extremely sharp. He sneered. Even if he didn't say anything, young Master Zhao and young Master Li also felt Ren Jiaming's anger. The two shivered and glanced at Huangfu Sheng. We were really forced. Second young Master Ren, we listened to you when we were with you. How could we dare to betray you? It's your big sister, your big sister. Zhao Quan suddenly raised his voice and suppressed Li Zhongtian's. It was Lady Ren who was worried about you. She hoped that you could return to the Ren family and live a good life as the future heir. That's why she came up with this plan. She wanted you to understand your status and your importance. They knew very well in their hearts. The first miss of the Gu clan had purposefully questioned them in front of everyone. He wanted to force the name of Miss Ren from their mouths. Even if they lied, it would only infuriate the Huangfu family. Chapter 43:37. It was just that he had beautified Miss Ren. This way, he was not lying. He could also protect Miss Ren's reputation. Zhao Quan felt that he was too smart. When Li Zhongtian heard this, he hurriedly nodded his head in agreement. When we received young Miss Ren's request, our hearts also did not approve of using such a method. However, you are after all our boss. Young Miss Ren is also doing this for the Ren family. We also cannot bear to see second young Master Ren abandon the entire Ren family for the young miss of the Gu residence. Following Li Zhongtian's words, the surrounding crowd seemed to have thought of something. Instantly, the expressions on their faces became a little weird. That's right, Ren Jiaming was the future successor of the Ren family, the genius second young master that the Ren family thought highly of. The Ren family had high hopes for him. But now, because of his admiration for Miss Gu, he completely disregarded the Ren family. He did not even listen to his own elder sister's words. One must know, although Miss Gu had a very noble status, the entire Heaven Realm was talking about it. Bone Lord would marry the first young mistress to whoever emerged as the champion on the honor list. But, after all, the first miss of the Gu residence was trash. A girl with no Xian strength and only knew some low-level tricks. So what if she had a noble status? If any family member married Miss Gu in order to get close to Bone Lord, this girl was not only unable to help the family with their business, they could not take in concubines or do anything that would let Miss Gu down, because there was still Bone Lord above them. Marrying Miss Gu, that was equivalent to marrying a flower vase, and a flower vase ancestor that could not be offended. So, the moment Miss Gu's identity was spread out, every single unmarried man was extremely excited. After knowing that Miss Gu was trash with no Xian strength, they were extremely disappointed. It was no wonder the eldest daughter of the Ren family would stop this marriage alliance. But second young Master Ren was obviously already determined to marry Miss Gu. He would rather leave the Ren family to be together with Miss Gu. No wonder Miss Ren would think of such a method to force second young Master Ren to return home, especially seeing the recently popular young master of the Huangfu family being so close to Miss Gu. He wondered what the relationship between the two of them was. From the looks of it, even young Master Huangfu's fiancée had accepted the existence of the young miss of the Bone Clan. Could it be that they had already discussed to share a husband? Facing the scrutinizing gazes of the crowd, Yiqing Luo didn't have too many emotions. She slowly straightened her body, her long and narrow eyes raised, carrying a hint of a smile, looking at the Zhao and Li family young masters. So that's how it is. Ren Jianming let his big sister down. Yiqing Luo seemed as though she was convinced as she repeated these words. When Zhao Quan heard that, his eyes lit up as he looked at Yiqing Luo agitatedly and nodded his head vigorously. Yes, it's like this. Young Mistress Ren is also racking her brains to think of second young Master Ren. Enough, Zhao Quan. Don't say any more. Jianming, he won't listen. Suddenly, a voice filled with pain and helplessness came from the crowd. His voice was a little hoarse. The moment he heard the voice, Ren Jianming's body suddenly tensed up. The onlookers cried out in surprise and quickly moved to make way for them. Chapter 43-38. The lady was dressed in a plain green long dress, outlining her exquisite waist. She stopped straightening her back. The expression on her face was the disappointment, helplessness, and pain of an elder. Her imposing manner had the delicateness of a lady. It also had the vigor and prestige of a superior. Solemn and dignified, just one look, and everyone was able to recognize the lady's identity. Eldest young Miss Ren is here. Eldest young Miss Ren. For this useless brother, you've really put in a lot of effort. It's said that femme fatale, eldest young miss of the Gu residence, is also that fatale. We're both eldest young miss, but why is there such a huge difference? Don't say any more. Not only does she have Bone Lord backing her up, she also has the Huangfu family. If this gets to eldest young miss of the Gu residence's ears, you won't be able to bear the consequences. The surrounding discussions made Yiqing Luo speechless. They spoke so loudly. They totally had no intention to avoid her. She could hear them clearly without the need for others to pass it on. All right? Facing this bunch of retards, Yiqing Luo didn't even have the desire to bother about them. She lazily lifted her eyelids and squinted at Ren Jianming as her lips curled into a smile as she spoke in a lukewarm tone. Yo, isn't this eldest young Miss Ren? Ren Jianming's expression was solemn and cold as her gaze stopped on Yiqing Luo for several breaths before she placed all her attention on Ren Jianming. That exquisite and beautiful, yet dignified face instantly turned gentle. She sighed. Jianming, are you done messing around? Her tone was just the right amount of helplessness. She had controlled her emotions extremely well. But Yiqing Luo acutely discovered that when the lady turned her head and looked towards Ren Jianming, under her long hair, a portion of her fair neck was faintly revealed. On top, the mottled, ambiguous traces were very obvious. Yiqing Luo clicked her tongue. This Ren Jianming was really incredible. She had just planned how to openly snatch back her brother's authority and arrange for people to seek revenge for her brother. And the moment she turned her head, she became entangled with her lover. She was indeed an ambitious lady. Her heart was rather big. Hearing Ren Jianming's words, Ren Jianming's face turned green and white as he stared at her with a venomous gaze. His hands were clenched into fists by his side. He seemed to be suppressing some sort of emotion. Ren Jianming didn't seem to notice. Putting on the airs of an elder, he advised earnestly, Jianming, I know what you're thinking. I also want to give you what you want. However, you're the pride of the Ren family, the hope of the Ren family. What you carry is the Ren family's everything. You can't be so willful. Jianming, I know that using this method to force you has hurt you, but I'm doing this for your own good. As she spoke, she sighed and slowly walked towards Ren Jiaming. Ren Jiaming narrowed his eyes. The moment Ren Jiaming walked over, he took a sudden step back. He staggered and almost fell to the ground. Fortunately, Huang Fusheng helped him in time. Ren Jiaming steadied himself and glared at Ren Jiaming. There was indescribable hatred in his eyes. You get lost. He spat out 2 words with great difficulty. His voice was tense and trembling, and his body was also trembling slightly. Ren Jiaming furrowed her brows, and her expression turned grim. What's wrong with you? Are you not feeling well? Chapter 43-39. We wouldn't dare. Zhao Quan and Li Chongtian's faces turned pale instantly. He threw himself onto the ground and kowtowed hard. When second young master appeared, he was covered in injuries. Everyone can testify. Ren Jining pursed her red lips tightly. Her brows were sharp. Covered in injuries. Who dares to touch our Ren family successor? Zhao Quan and Li Chongtian knelt on the ground, trembling, and shook their heads desperately. Finally, Ren Jining turned her gaze back to Ren Jiaming. Look at you. You just left the Ren family, and you're already in such a state. Isn't it good to stay in the Ren family and be the Ren family's second young master? What should I say to you? Her face was filled with helplessness and heartache. After that, she sighed heavily. Who is the one who hurt you? Tell me. I will make the other party pay a painful price. Every word, and every action all showed how much she valued and cared for Ren Jiaming. Her words were like sharp steel needles stabbing into Ren Jiaming's heart one by one. Yiqing Luo laughed as she watched. She had to admit that Ren Jianing's acting was really good. If it was in her previous era, he must also be a shadow follower level character. Luo. Huang Fusheng looked at the Ren siblings and looked at Yiqing Luo in puzzlement. Huang Fusheng had naturally heard about the relationship between Yiqing Luo and Ren Jiaming. After all, the news of Ren Jiaming's pestering towards the eldest miss of the Gu residence had spread throughout the old city. After seeing that the eldest miss of the Gu residence was Yiqing Luo, of course he wouldn't suspect that there was any special relationship between Yiqing Luo and Ren Jiaming. Luo's future husband was the high and mighty overlord. Tens of thousands of Ren Jiaming were no match for the overlord. But he was still very curious. Why would Yiqing Luo be acquainted with this Ren family's second young master who didn't have a good reputation? Don't you feel that? Eldest Miss Ren's acting is not bad? Yiqing Luo laughed lightly. Her long and narrow eyes were filled with ridicule. She didn't intentionally lower her voice when she spoke. Naturally, the people around them heard it loud and clear. Ren Jianing's face froze for a moment. She raised her head, and her gaze was slightly cold as she looked at Yiqing Luo. Eldest young miss of the Gu residence, I don't know for what reason did you force Jianming to quarrel with his biological sister, even to the point of running away from home. But Jianming is my younger brother, the future successor of the Ren family. I will absolutely not allow you to destroy my younger brother and destroy the Ren family. Her words of righteousness. Not only did she create the image of a good sister for herself, he even threw a pot onto Yiqing Luo. This caused everyone to unconsciously think that Ren Jiaming's change. Could it really be because of the first miss of the Gu clan? The first miss of the Gu residence was acquainted with the young master of the Huangfu clan. Suddenly, his mind was filled with a series of conspiracy theories. Big sister. Ren Jiaming's tense and suppressed voice sounded like a beast that had been trapped for a long time. His voice was very hoarse. His fists were tightly clenched, as his eyes were filled with disappointment and helplessness. Don't push everything onto eldest Mississippi. Why did I become like this? You know it best, don't you? Jianming, even now, you still want to speak up for her? Ren Jining looked extremely angry. Chapter 4340. She sighed as she walked towards Run Jianming, and her tone was extremely gentle. Jianming, stop fooling around. Go home with big sister obediently. If you really like eldest young miss of the Gu residence, then show me your love for her. Prove it to big sister. Big sister can compromise for you. Seeing Ren Jianming walking over, Ren Jianming's footsteps subconsciously retreated towards Yiqing Luo's side. Ren Jianming's footsteps halted as her face was filled with helplessness. In everyone's eyes, Ren Jianming was a strange lady who was worried for her good-for-nothing brother and broke her heart for the Ren family. All of them felt heartache for her and felt that it wasn't worth it. While Ren Jianming was retreating, his eyes were fixed on Ren Jianming. He didn't notice the wooden barrel which had unknowingly rolled to the side of his feet. Bam! His calf was hit by the wooden barrel. Ren Jianming's body was unstable as he fell heavily onto the ground. This fall was so painful that his face turned pale as he sucked in a cold breath. Jianming! Ren Jianming cried out in shock, as there wasn't any trace of a strong woman's dignity on her face. It was filled with a sister's concern towards her brother. She quickly rushed to Ren Jianming's side as she squatted down and helped him up. Her worried gaze looked at Ren Jianming from head to toe. Jianming, are you hurt from the fall? What do you feel uncomfortable? Go home with big sister. Go home with big sister. Big sister will not let anything happen to you. Saying that, she hooked Ren Jianming's body as she tried to help him up. This movement made Ren Jianming feel as though his body was about to be torn apart. He waved his hand and pushed Ren Jianming away as he gritted his teeth angrily. I don't need your fake kindness. This push of his didn't push onto Ren Jianming. Instead, it was held by Ren Jianming's hand. She held onto his arm just like that. The gaze which she used to look at Ren Jianming was filled with solemnity and seriousness. The atmosphere at this moment became heavy. The air seemed to have condensed into frost. The surrounding people also stopped their discussions because of the change in the atmosphere. Just like that, there was a moment of silence. A lady's slightly trembling voice was heard, as though she was suppressing some emotions. Jianming, you. Is your body all right? The woman asked very cautiously. Every single word that came out of her mouth was extremely difficult. Ren Jianming's body tensed up as he stared at Ren Jianming. However, Ren Jianming acted as if she did not see his gaze. She continued to speak with a trembling voice. Jianming, don't tell me that in order for the young miss of the Gu clan to accept you, you turned yourself into an ordinary person? What about your profound strength? What about your profound rank? Why can't I sense any profound qi fluctuations from your body? Her question sounded as if she was deeply grieved. However, every single word was clearly transmitted into the ears of the surrounding spectators. Instantly, there was an uproar. The genius second young master of the Ren family had lost his profound strength. A cultivation genius that was rarely seen in 100 years had actually become a good-for-nothing just because he wanted to be together with the young miss of the Gu residence. He had turned himself into a piece of trash. Profound energy, strength, to them, was the most important. How could such a powerful talent be wasted like this? If it was them, to have a talent like the second young master of the Ren family, they would rather become monks than to give up on this kind of talent. Chapter 4341. Just now, when the Zhao and Li family's young masters threw the barrels at second young master Ren, second young master Ren had no way to avoid them. They were still wondering just now. Second young master Ren was so strong, looking at the entire old city and even the heavenly realm. No one should be able to leave such a wretched and severe injury on the body of the second young master of the Ren clan. Wait! Suddenly, a voice sounded in the crowd. Second young master Ren is the heir of the Ren family. If he loses his dark force, doesn't it mean that he has lost the right to inherit the Ren family? The four great families will never let a useless person become the family head. Yes, second young master Ren can't inherit the position of the Ren family head if he loses his dark force. The Ren family has few descendants. Now, they only have Miss Ren and a 5-year-old young master left. If second young master Ren loses his right to inherit the family, does that mean the Ren family has to be handed over to a 5-year-old child? Second young master Ren is too impulsive. He doesn't know how to think about his family at all. For a moment, everyone was talking about it. Their tone was full of disapproval for Ren Jiaming. If this kind of thing happened in their family, they would probably vomit blood from anger. Ren Jining seemed to be frightened and couldn't recover for a long time. She just stared at Ren Jiaming without blinking. She didn't refute the words of the surrounding people until the discussion rose to a peak. Only then did Ren Jining stand up as if she had lost her soul. She stared at Ren Jiaming and said bitterly, "Good. Very good. This is your choice. You used this method to take revenge on the Ren family." She turned her back and raised her head slightly. The side profile of that beautiful face was very exquisite. Ren Jining seemed to be extremely sad. She didn't even want to look at Ren Jiaming. Clap, clap, clap. Amidst this chaotic atmosphere, a clap rang out. Everyone was instantly attracted by the sound of the applause. They saw the girl in red, who had been standing aside and watching the show for a long time, applauding and walking out. Her steps were very elegant, and the corner of her mouth was curled up with a faint sarcastic smile. That pair of long, narrow, and slightly upturned eyes exuded a chilly coldness when they looked at them. Everyone's discussion came to an abrupt halt. Ren Jianing's expression sunk as her beautiful eyes looked towards Yi Qing Luo. "Are you satisfied now? My brother became like this because of you. You must be very proud, right?" The girl stopped clapping and crossed her arms. Step by step, he strolled over to her. He walked to Ren Jianing's side. Ren Jianing's body tensed up, and she gathered her dark force vigilantly. But unexpectedly, Yi Qing Luo didn't even bother to take a look at her as she walked past her and walked towards a crowd. Ren Jianing stood rooted to the ground like a fool. His right hand, which was gathering dark force, hung stiffly in midair. The expression on his face was sometimes twisted and sometimes hideous. "You come out." Yi Qing Luo stood in front of the crowd, pointing towards a certain direction. Everyone saw the girl walking towards them. For some reason, he felt an indescribable pressure in his heart. It was obvious that the young girl in front of him did not have the slightest fluctuation of profound energy. But when he looked into the other's eyes, he felt a chill run down his spine. He couldn't stop the emotions from spreading in his heart. Finally, when a young girl's finger landed on a certain spot, everyone's suspenseful hearts then slowly calmed down. Chapter 43-42. The crowd dispersed. That person who was pointed out wasn't he. The first person who mentioned that Ren Jiaming had lost his inheritance rights? Eldest miss, what do you want to do? That person's voice was trembling. Yi Qing Luo hooked her finger. "Come over." That person subconsciously took a look at Ren Jianing's direction. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled. "Why? Do you need me to invite you over personally?" That person realized that Ren Jianing had no intention to bother about him. He could only clench his teeth as he walked towards Yi Qing Luo. A paw sound was heard. Yi Qing Luo raised her hand. The glower flame fan's handle slapped onto that person's face. A deep red mark was imprinted on that person's face. Yi Qing Luo took out a handkerchief from somewhere and wiped the fan handle bit by bit, as though she had touched some germs. She wiped it slowly and deliberately. Her long and narrow eyes looked at that person with a smile, which didn't look like a smile. That person was slapped till he was in a daze, and the fiery pain made him regain his senses. He covered his face fiercely. "Why do you have to hit me?" She specially called him over just to give him a slap, and he even personally sent his face in front of her. Don't think that I don't know the reason why Ren Jiaming fell, is because you kicked that wooden barrel to his feet. After Yi Qing Luo finished wiping, she threw the handkerchief casually towards that person's face. I said, "Ren Jiaming is the person I want to pick up now. Touching my person in front of me, I feel that you're provoking me." Yiqing Luo walked slowly as she took another step towards that person. That person was so frightened that he retreated backwards. His eyes were filled with fear towards Yiqing Luo. Eldest Miss Ren should be very clear on how Ren Jiaming's profound energy was crippled. Acting sentimental and righteous here will dirty my eyes. Yiqing Luo's smile didn't diminish as the gaze she shot towards Ren Jianying was filled with ridicule. Ren Jianying's expression was solemn. You've already ruined my brother, and now you want to ruin the Ren family? Yiqing Luo shrugged as she looked closely at that person beside her. Following that, she lifted her leg and kicked that person. That man cried out miserably as he was stepped on by Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo was full of mischievousness as she stepped on that person's body and bent down slightly. Almost all the weight was on that person's body. It's not up to you to decide whether Ren Jiaming is qualified to inherit the Ren family. The future of the Ren family is not something you can control. In any case, it's impossible for Miss Ren to inherit the Ren family. Yiqing Luo's words seemed to be directed at the person beneath her feet, but everyone could tell. Yiqing Luo was saying this for Ren Jianying to hear. It could be said, everything that Yiqing Luo had done to that person. Actually, they were all mocking Ren Jianying. That slap was no different from slapping Ren Jianying. That foot was no different from stepping on Ren Jianying. Everyone was so shocked by the scene in front of them that they could not close their jaws. None of the people present were fools. Anyone could tell that there was some kind of conspiracy going on in this matter. After all, Ren Jiaming had become useless. The Ren family was without a leader. They definitely couldn't let that 5-year-old child be in charge. In the end, it would still land in the hands of Ren Jianying, who was still in charge. No matter if Ren Jianying was really innocent or the mastermind in this matter, as long as it didn't affect their interests. They were too lazy to think deeply about it. It was impossible to say it out in the open. But Yiqing Luo had said it. Chapter 43-43. How could eldest young miss of the Gu residence determine that the successor of the Ren family could not be Ren Jianying? Based on the current situation of the Ren family, there was only Ren Jianying this choice. Yiqing Luo didn't mind what storm and whirlpool her words had stirred up. She turned her head back and looked at the man who was stepping on her feet as her smile became even nastier. Her brows were filled with a teasing smile. Your master doesn't seem to have any intention to save you. Since that's the case, why don't I start with you first? Saying that, she waved the glower flame fan in her fingertips. That man gave a terrified scream as he covered his face and couldn't stop the miserable cries from coming from his mouth. That fan which Yiqing Luo had slapped on his face earlier. He had used an extremely crafty technique to do so. That scorching pain was even more unbearable than making a few cuts on his face. Between her fingers, that man saw Yiqing Luo, and that evil smile was magnified in front of him. Suddenly, a ray of silver light flashed past. He saw the young lady's red feather fan, drawing out a sharp dagger. The blade shone with a cold glint. She wanted to kill him. The man instantly felt his breathing stagnated. The miserable cries made the surrounding crowd dig their ears as they looked at that man with a mocking gaze. Following that, they smelled an extremely pungent urine smell in the air. It was that man, frightened by Yiqing Luo, urinated on the spot. And when that man was so frightened that he was shivering and his lower body was wet. But there wasn't any pain or death that he had imagined. The moment he opened his eyes, unknowingly, the young lady was already standing next to the Huangfu family's side, as though she had never come to his side. The gazes of the surrounding people made that person feel extremely ashamed. Yiqing Luo casually wiped her own hands as her long and narrow eyes glanced towards Ren Jianying's direction as her lips curled. TSK. You can't even take fright, so useless. Ren Jianying's hands clenched into fists. Apparently, Yiqing Luo was intentionally using that man to scold the locust tree slapping her face through the wall. And the most important thing was, Yiqing Luo's actions in public was not only to provoke her, but also to slap her face. He had even stripped her naked in front of everyone. She, the eldest daughter of the Ren family, had also become a joke. At this moment, Ren Jining finally understood why the black-cloaked man told her not to underestimate this woman. This woman was so arrogant that it seemed as though she had countless trump cards up her sleeves. It was as though she was not afraid of anything. Clearly, he was just a trash without any profound energy. He clearly didn't even have the ability to protect himself. Why did she have to be so arrogant? Ren Jining suppressed the anger in her chest. She sucked in a deep breath and calmed herself down. Since when has the first miss of the Gu clan been in charge of the matters of our Ren clan? She raised her head with a cold expression. The future successor of the Ren family has nothing to do with the first miss of the Gu estate. I only have one question for you. My younger brother has turned himself into an ordinary person for you. Are you going to accept him or not? Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes raised slightly. No wonder she was able to control the old city's economic lifeline. At such a young age, she was able to become the mastermind behind the scenes in the Ren family, Ren Jining. In just a few breaths' time, she then adjusted her emotions. Chapter 43-44. Ren Jining's plan was very good. If she rejected Ren Jiaming, in everyone's eyes, she despised Ren Jiaming for being a waste and had lost his status as the Ren family's second young master, so she rejected him. Her reputation would be completely ruined under Ren Jining's conscious leadership. And if she agreed to Ren Jining's words, Ren Jining could then express that she would fulfill her brother's true love and let the both of them be together. In the end, it would be a bitter drama. After the Ren family had lost the person who could shoulder the burden, he would naturally become the next head of the Ren family. Yiqing Luo wanted to clap again. She smiled lightly as her lips curled as she laughed disapprovingly. Everyone had been waiting for her answer. Everyone's gazes were gathered on her. The young lady tilted her head as she gave a sarcastic smile. When your brother was still the Ren family's second young master, I had already said that I have no interest in him. In that case, you still want to reject him? Ren Jining asked. Yiqing Luo replied, Isn't my rejection obvious enough? Ren Jining laughed as she looked coldly at Ren Jining. See that. This is the woman you want to choose. She has never thought of being together with you. How much longer are you going to be so silly? Ren Jiaming looked at Yiqing Luo in a daze. What she said earlier replayed in his mind over and over again. Obviously, towards eldest young miss of the Gu residence. He had long known that eldest young miss would not like him and would not accept him. But when he heard eldest young miss say this personally, his heart still felt very upset. It was as if something was squeezing his chest. His throat was blocked up badly. Even when Ren Jining was talking to him, he didn't hear it. Yiqing Luo suddenly smiled. Her watery eyes were like flowers blooming in spring, breathtaking beyond compare. But I am a kind-hearted person. Seeing such a pitiful child, I just want to lend a helping hand to help him. Yiqing Luo's eyes were filled with tears. Since I've picked him up and raised him for a few days, and he has yet to repay me for taking him in, how can I return him to you so easily? Yiqing Luo's lips curled upwards as her smile suddenly turned more severe. So, if eldest young Miss Ren wants to bring Ren Jianming back, then he'll have to beg me to let him go first. Ren Jianming's expression instantly congealed as she gritted her teeth and stared at Yiqing Luo, her eyes filled with an icy cold intent. She raised her head slightly. Her face was filled with her usual arrogance and conceit. First young lady of the Gu residence, the Heaven Realm does not belong to your Gu residence. I hope that when we meet again in the future, you can still maintain your current arrogance. Then, she looked at Ren Jianming as if she had made up her mind. She enunciated each word clearly, If this is your final choice, I can tell you very clearly that I can't accept it. So, you are the only heir to the Ren family. I will use my own methods to make you return to the Ren family willingly. Ren Jiaming's pupils constricted, and he clenched his fists tightly. Whatever you want to do, just come at me. No one understood what Ren Jiaming meant. How could Ren Jiaming not understand? She was merely finding an excuse to deal with him openly. Ren Jiaming's gaze swept past Huang Fusheng and glanced at Yiqing Luo before turning around to leave. She had just walked out of the crowd. Yiqing Luo suddenly called out to her eldest young Miss Ren. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.